Yeah. No, I need one. No, I got it.
I'm gonna get you for that.
See ya.
We'll call this meeting to order and start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for Friday, July 30th, 2021 at 9 a.m. at the community center, 3500 Edgewater Drive. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. I have a motion to accept the consent agenda. Any comment? Any public comment? Consent agenda.
Supervisor Phillips? Yes. Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. Action agenda. Resolution number 2021-06, 11-16. A resolution of the Sound Lake Receiving Improvement District to approve an interlocal agreement with Highlands County for the removal of emergency storm debris. By motion.
Motion.
Okay, so you each should have on your desk a copy of the final, most recent version of the agreement. After having reviewed it, the only really issue that the only thing that I saw anything remotely concerning is that if there's any unreimbursed expenses that the county takes on that isn't covered by FEMA, that it's the district's responsibility to cover those costs. So anything that occurs in the district, if the FEMA money, once it's all, everything is all said and done, if it doesn't cover what the district, what the county had to expend to clear the district roadways, the district reimburses the county for that. So as long as.
We still have to pay 25% of the.
True, yeah, anything that's not reimbursed, that's what we have to cover.
And so the question I had, Dan, is what did you find out about, was the contract or the agreement that you gave us with Avon Park in the county, what did they did not have? Well, my question to you is, why did they not have to pay and we did?
Other than the difference than being a municipality and us being a special district, I don't have an answer to that. So I don't know if that's the agreement that they worked out. I don't know if that's something we want to try and go back on or renegotiate with the county.
As I remember, the original agreement was that everybody was going to pay 25, and then the city, Avon Park, got all upset, and they rewrote it. And they came back without it.
Good morning, Scott.
Yeah.
To address this, what the county is looking to do, okay, and I'll go back to Hurricane Irma, the county outlaid approximately about $15 million in cleanup expense. Took the county almost 2 years to get reimbursement. The reimbursement is typically 75% from FEMA, and then the state reimburses the remaining 25%. The state traditionally covers half of that. That at times leaves 12.5% that potentially could not be covered. Okay. It's something, of course, the county doesn't budget for. I mean, we have no reserve contingency, and then the district has to reimburse also that are used to address some of these uncovered expenses. So we are working the same agreement, Spring Lake agreement district was signed on the agreement presented with you. It's on your agenda today. They're working the same agreement with Avon Park, the city of Sebring, the county of Lake Placid. Okay. So it's one of those things that we never hope that we have to deal with again, but it's one of those things that is a big unknown that the county is for when it comes to hurricane or disaster that happens. So the county is just looking. We have to enter into an interlocal agreement with the municipalities and the districts within the county. And each of them and each of you have a choice that you can say, no, we're not interested. We will take care of the cleanup ourselves. We'll apply for reimbursement ourselves, and we'll do it all in house. And certainly have the liberty to do that if they choose to do so. So the county acts on this behalf is that we have a library of vendors that we keep within the county. So when the situation like this happens, we someone can pull the trigger and call his library vendor, get the FEMA contractors in here and start cleaning up. So that's some of the spirit of the agreement, that, you know, not asking for any of the improvement districts or the municipalities to put any money up front. Not looking for them to pay anything. It could be 2 years after disaster. And so we would know what portion is not covered. And with GIS mapping, what have you, and the way that hurricane debris cleanup is tracked, we can now track what actually is cleaned within the porch. Okay, so
I'm not disputing what you're doing. All I'm asking you is, the copy of the Avon Park agreement is not a statement, but it's 25%. So it's just not documented, not correct.
I'm not sure I have looked at your agreement.
This is your agreement with Avon Park.
Okay.
And there's nothing about.
Avon Park does not sign the agreement yet. It's still in front of their chief counsel, senior chief counsel, kind of like classes. We will be on our agenda on July 6th to speak about this. Okay, it's my understanding, I can look into this, that each one of you were presented the same exact agreement, and the agreement, my understanding, said that getting into this interlocal agreement with the county, you're agreeing that whatever portion of the cleanup is not reimbursed to the county from either federal or state, that the district would pick up the portion their cost. And traditionally, unreimbursable expenses is 100% being whole, is 12.5%.
I have no problem with the money. I'm just saying I want to be treated like everybody else.
Yeah.
We want to be treated like everybody
Yeah.
else. So if Avon Park is not paying 12.5, 15, whatever it is, I don't want to either.
No, I don't blame you.
So how do we find out?
Well, I can tell you, you can either choose to table it, and of course, hurricane season is upon us. We're trying to get these, because we have to know, the hurricane hits next week, okay, and you've got to pull the trigger on doing cleanup. The county has to know who's handling what. We don't want to get into a situation where contractors come in separately, either to a municipality or district. They start doing work and trying to figure out who is billing who's going to get reimbursed for what. So, you know, you can certainly table it. I know July 6th, the kind of like Clapton was requested to come in front of the commission to be heard on this, okay, because the argument has been from them, it was public, is that they pay county taxes also. I mean, your district is within the borders of the county, right? You know, and they feel that they should not have to pay any of it. And it feels different about that, so we're give them the opportunity to be heard. They are going to, I believe that the city of Sebring and the city of Avon Park is waiting to see what decision the county, the town of Lake Placid has presented their version of the local agreement, which has no liability on their part. Okay. And so I know when it comes in front of us on July 6th, and I'm one of your 5 commissioners, whatever decision we make will set a precedence on what everybody else is going to do, because everybody else wants to be treated equally, which I certainly understand. Okay. So you can table this, you can wait till the next meeting, or until past July 6th to see how the commission votes. The town of Lake Placid adopted their own resolution stating that they don't feel they should be liable for cleanup. They also in their resolution stated that if the commission votes that they're not in favor of their resolution or they have no liability, that they're authorized to sign our resolution that we're coming to them, because they don't have the means to do it. Okay, nobody individually that I see the municipalities or the districts have the means to do this themselves. They don't have library of contractors. When you want to talk about scope of work that has to be done, and since it's a Hurricane Irma, and the coordination and the tracking of all these loads, everything that is going, and billing FEMA and waiting for that money, supplying more documentation for that, it is a monumental task for the county any time a hurricane to that degree hits. Certainly, maybe frost, we don't have to deal with that anymore. But now the federal government requires us to get into an interlocal agreement, so everybody knows what everybody else is doing with this county. So my suggestion to you may be to table this action, and You know, we're not leaving anybody high and dry. It's not like it's going to be hurricane or cloud level communities. But we have to have an agreement in writing between the municipalities within the districts within our county on who's handling what and how we're going to go about it. Traditionally, this is something that had never come up. This is new for some of the issues. I've been briefed on this many times. We met with the officials from the municipalities, and now we're waiting to see what the decision is going to be made on the process. So you can either make a decision today. You can table the matter, if they rather table this matter to a meeting. You know, there's no named storms out there, what have you, but it's something that we need to come to some sort of agreement and to see which way it's going to go. So there is some contention out there on how it's going to be handled. But I can tell you right now, as a commissioner, Lake Placid comes in front of us on July 6th, and we go with their agreement, and that's going to be kind of hard. And we will cover all the costs. And so we have to look at this, to me, is that kind of the cost has to be paid. We're all fighting for the same people. You're fighting for the residents of Southern Lakes and the paying district taxes, but they also pay county taxes also. We're all trying to protect the taxes and the costs of the same bucket of people. It has to be paid. It's going to be paid one way or the other. If it's not paid by the municipality, the uncovered expense is not paid by the municipalities or by the districts, then it's going to be an additional burden on the county in terms of the county, depending on the size of the staff or what have you. If we don't have the money, then we have to raise taxes to cover that shortfall. So at the end of the day, it's going to be paid one way or the other, and it's going to come from everybody that helps contribute to the cost of cleanup, and that's the taxpayers of the county, that's the taxpayers within improvement districts or within municipalities of the county. Either it's going to fall on their individual reserves, or it's going to fall on the county reserve as a whole. And if the county, if that's the way it's going to flush out, then that's the way we will do it, and we will do our best to manage costs and try to keep costs down. But at the end of the day, if the county has a $1 million, $2 million unexpected expense with a hurricane or a disaster, those dollars have to come from somewhere. That dollars of tax increase at the county level. I know I'm not giving you a definitive answer, but I think certainly there's no named storms out there. You not to take action on this resolution. You know, I was told I know that Spring Lake Improvement District has already signed on to this. They will, county that takes care of all the cleanup and whatever is not reimbursed the county at the end. And I can say hurricane, or it took 2 years for us to get paid out of that $15 million expense. And you know, so Spring Lake is signed on to this. Now if it changes and goes in the other direction, they might say, no, we're going to be on the same program everybody else is. I think everybody's going to be on the same program. It's either going to be one way or the other. Either this is going to fall totally on the county, we're going to take care of it, or each of the municipalities and the districts are going to sign on to the agreement that eventually they be liable for the unreimbursed expenses, which I've been told to be 12.5%. It's still something that's in the working, but Lake Placid will be on the agenda for July 6th.
We are currently working under the assumption that we are covered through September 11th, because that's when the interlocal agreement that we already have in place is effective.
But I mean, you're covered, like I said, we're not, if a hurricane was to hit this weekend, we pull the trigger on the FEMA compact, we're not going to say, stay out of some lights, pick up anything. I see the county doing that. But federal government, state government requires us to have an interlocal agreement on how this matter can be handled if it ever comes up. Okay. For my time, it was always absorbed by the county. Okay. And that was becoming a problem after Hurricane Irma. County had to go out and borrow money, line credit, $18 million that they had put out for those 2 years. Fortunately, never had to access that loan. We're able to sweep by, and the money came in, and we got reimbursed. But initially, the county just picked up all that expense. But this was started something from the commission before, it's like there's something Commissioner Hanley, there was your liaison before, but I'm now in his seat. This is something that he's very concerned with on the county, and the strain that it puts on the county budget, what have you. But just keep in mind, at the end of the day, it will be paid one way, the money has to come from somewhere. It's either it comes through your county taxes or potentially from your improvement district taxes for an unexpected expense like this. So I encourage you either way, if you do have to me, but there is no name storms out there, if you have a little bit of time, we need to get this done in July, the latest. But if you guys would like to table this and see what happens on July 6th and what direction it's going, then certainly we have to do that. Okay.
Thank you.
So it's up to you guys. The agenda, I looked at the City of Avon Park agenda for their upcoming meeting on the 28th, and there's nothing there. At least not on what's available online. So I can't look at what version of the contract they're looking at, but I think it's.
My only point is, I mean, I would look to do this, but I don't want to pay and have somebody else not.
Mhm.
I want to play on an equal ball. So I don't, how we get to that point, you guys got to tell me.
Well, we
I'm
could-
not sure how the other guys will.
We could approve this conditionally today, and with the understanding that if at a subsequent meeting, you know, with one of the other municipalities, if an agreement is reached where, you know, there's no reimbursement, that, you know, this one becomes null and void. We don't have, we can approve it today, but we don't have any obligation to, you know, turn over an executed document today. So,
Or we can table it today.
or we can table it today, just like we did last
We
year.
have a meeting July 30th,
30th, correct.
and they're gonna make a decision on the 6th, so we'll just be a lot less paperwork.
Mhm. We can do that. If you want to table, we just need a motion and a second to table it. And then we'd have a public comment and vote, and if the vote passes, then it's tabled until the July 30th meeting.
Because it's not, anyway.
Correct, we're covered through September, or at least a portion of September.
I move to table.
Second,
We've got a motion and a second, we need public comment, and then we can have a vote.
Okay. Any other comment? Okay, public comment?
George Puffenberger resident. I think what the gentleman just said is if you don't have this, you're gonna pay for it anyway. But I'm misunderstanding. He said it would be paid for. One way or the other.
Correct. The issue, I think, is whether or not Sun and Lake residents are treated equally with the ones in Avon Park.
I think that's a good statement, but how do you guarantee that? I can tell you, having been here for 26 years. Going into my 27th. Having said the major hurricanes, such as 2004, where we had 3 in less than 45 days. We did our own. We got every dime back from FEMA, and it took us probably a year to do it. However, we were probably one of the first areas in Highlands County to be completely cleaned up. We hired a company out of Tampa to do it. I remember the bird streets and car streets down behind Walmart. They had debris piled up for 5 to 6 months. So if you agree to do this, and I don't have any objection, whatever you do, I'm not recommending yea or nay. I'm simply pointing out you need to take things under consideration in real life. If the county, we do let the county do it when they pay 1 time. If we do it, we can establish our own priorities and be cleaned up, in my opinion, 10% quicker, maybe 50% quicker. And the county will do some of the cost by and the aggravation to get the debris together, which brings another point. If we sign on to the county, will Sun and Lake get assistance from the staff to help clean up the best, take it to a local point, or do you call it the front door?
Not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking, if we agree to do this, and we sign on to the county to do this, what's Sun Lake residents' responsibility to get their debris picked up? Do they take it to a central location, which is very difficult in some cases, or do you put it on the curb and hope they come by within the next 6 months?
It will, the residents' responsibility in the county will be with the debris at the edge of the road at the right. Okay, contractors are instructed to pick up debris in the right of way, and they do not pick up debris on private property. Okay, only the debris that's in the right of way. As you know, after Hurricane Irma hit, a lot of people took advantage of that. That was only hurricane debris. It was stuff that they probably had in their backyard.
Exactly.
And here was an opportunity to get it hauled away for free. And that's everywhere. That's not just here, that's everywhere. And that's just part of what you deal with in situations like that. But each resident, if we're in charge of the hurricane debris cleanup, the instruction would be that we work with your district here, instruct the residents that they're to place everything out in front of their home in the right of way, and the contractor would pick it up on.
That's essentially what I wanted to hear, because that's a real issue. There's some problems. Depending on the amount of debris, you could have a pile that goes to the gentleman said, I've seen mattresses. It got so bad down Bird Streets that they had vermin and snakes that take the residents of the places. You simply need to think about it and what decision you make. Thank you.
Dave Howley, resident. I'll make it quick. This situation between us being a special district and not a municipality always gets in the way. That's the way this gas tax thing gets in the way of this. We're never treated properly. We pay all these taxes, we just don't get what we signed up for. But remember, in 04, we put in that bill with a special assessment. We pulled a special assessment, everybody paid for it, and nobody complained about it, and we got it done. We got it done a lot quicker than we probably could get it done in this case. Thank you.
I think it was $60 per household.
Any other public comment? Anything else from the board? Okay,
Supervisor Brooks,
Just the voting table, so that.
Correct.
Yes.
Supervisor Harrod,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
yes. Resolution number 2021-06-25-18, a resolution of the Sun Lake of Sebring Improvement District to approve moving forward with the state revolving fund loan application through Guardian CRM Incorporated. Can I have a motion? Okay, who's going to address this? Dan? Or area?
Morning Supervisors, so the work order that is being discussed is from Guardian. It is for the SRF fund that we discussed at the last meeting. The work order is for Guardian to go ahead and move forward with helping us with this application process for the SRF loan. The total amount of time spent versus and with their hourly rate puts this particular work order at $10,000. I believe we're still looking at, is it still the 5 million?
Correct. This is a drainage,
The drainage SR.
the drainage is all right for the back that was gonna be through the county, and now we're doing it ourselves.
I'm sure.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sure we all realize that that $5 million is not budgeted at all.
Correct.
We all realize that? Yes. So that would just be another $5 million.
That's 0% interest.
That's correct.
you add up the $18 million that's on the table, 0% interest in 30 years, you're obligating the district for over $700,000 a year for the next 30 years. I think, I didn't want to have this conversation now, but I think we have to sit down and figure out exactly what to do. And what's on the table, and how we think we're going to attack it, and make sure that we all digest what's out there. Because right now, if we were to do everything that we've been discussing, we're somewhere around $19 million. Wrong number. Doesn't mean we're going to spend it, I agree with that, but we haven't really spent a nickel. It's a good problem. But the other issue, somebody brought this to my attention last night, is that most people, most residents have no clue what's going on. And when they get wind of this, well, I would prefer that we present it to them before they get wind of it, when we start flying, we go back and forth at each other, and just, we got our eggs on the basket, we got everything together, and we said, we had a meeting, and we said, here's what your board wants to do. This is why your assessment is going to go up, your ballot is going to go up, or what have you. And you know, if they show great, you know, we'll have a conversation, intelligent conversation. If they don't show, at least something we can say that we gave them the opportunity to find out what they're doing and go from there. That's just one person's opinion. But either way, we have to put this $5 million somehow into the budget. Like I said, it's not good.
Any other comment from supervisors? Public comment.
All I'm saying, what we're doing is trying to determine what funding we can get from the state revolving fund. This is not, we are not signing on to spend $3 million or $5 million. Finding out exactly what money is available to us for this particular project. And it's costing $10,000.
That's an accurate statement, Craig.
That's all.
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that this is the application phase. Just by submitting this application, we're not guaranteed to receive anything. But if we do get if we are approved for the $5 million, that's when we have to spend it. I think the only requirement is that if it's approved, the only thing we can spend it on is the specific drainage. That's the one thing we're operating at.
What paper that's being submitted states that they're going to do list of funds. It's the only thing that's going to be covered through this. Correct.
Do you know what kind of window we have when this information comes back as far as how long it's valid?
As far as like if we are approved, is that what you're saying?
Well, they go back and they say X amount of money is available through whatever. Is that, how long do we have before we have to make a decision? I mean, is that something we have to decide on right away? Something we can drag, for 6 months? Or do you know?
I do not know, but I'd be happy to follow up and ask Corbett that question and see, and I can say.
I would think we need to know how long we have.
Sure, so what you're asking is, so if we go forward with the application, basically, or if this were to be approved, we gave Corbett the green light to go ahead and start the work order and start pursuing the application. If they come back and say you've been approved for $5 million, you're asking how long do we have between being approved for that money before we have to hit the ground running and start the work? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, kind of, sort of, because, we've got a whole bunch on the table. I think we have, personally, I just think we have to get it all to where we can see.
This was approved at the last meeting to actually
I
see
understand
the word. All we're talking about now is can we get the money
Right.
to do it? I mean, that, we're not obligated to do anything other than spend $10,000 to find out.
I'm not opposed to doing this. I just think we have to look at bigger pictures at the same time.
Any other, any public comment?
Morning, Robert, we've been a stay to find out if you spend the money on this. It's gonna create more problems down the road, or whether you do the project finished and it's good for major. And you need more.
I guess the best way I could address that is this is deferred maintenance that should have been done in the last 20 years. This is drainage back in the unit 10 and 11. We have the obligation to do it. We haven't.
Hey, Valley resident, I'll make this quick again. We got an interlocal agreement with the county for our roads and our drainage. All we have to do is cancel that, and it's their responsibility. Okay, because it says roads and it says drainage, and it was an interlocal agreement, brought by Crossville Death, when we determined if it was illegal for us to do our, unless we had an interlocal agreement. So just a thought.
Any other public comment?
Sally Sunderland, resident. I thought it was just like 4 board members. There are 4 board members.
We have one gone.
I hope it's not 8. Oh,
What is your opinion on drainage?
no, I don't know.
Okay.
I just want to know why it's on
Okay.
the floor. Thank you.
Any other public comment on the drainage? Okay, Chrissy.
Supervisor Harret,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, we have a discussion on the strategic action plan. I think Dan's gonna.
Let's keep this short and sweet. That we have done a strategic plan as you asked us to do. I think we provided each of you a copy and an updated one as of last week. Basically, what we're trying to do is come up with a roadmap of what needs to happen and who's responsible for it. Beyond that, I don't know if there's any real need to get into the details. It's what we looked at the strengths and the weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats for the district, and trying to come up with action plans to take care of those situations, unless you have specific questions.
Hey, any comment? Okay, any public comment? Okay,
This is, well, I mean, I think this is very well done, by the way. It's nice to have an idea what we're trying to do. But I did have a question on you guys, page 4, public awareness, the restaurant is meeting apparently. Or I guess it was held on April 14th. And we have not, I'd like to know what came out of that meeting. I don't even know today. But what efforts or whatever you guys came up with as far as what you're doing in the restaurant? So we get that information. I don't need it right now.
Oh, okay, we'll get it.
I mean, if you just send us what came out of that meeting, I appreciate it. And then the other thing, I don't know if this matters or not, like number 8, all that's already been done. So we leave it on there.
Yeah, it basically is a living document that will be added to as we go forward, probably on a quarterly basis.
Okay, and then I do have a question on number 7. Does the code of ethics been put on the golf carts? I don't use the golf carts, so I don't know.
Yes,
It hasn't been run up all the golf carts?
yes, sir. And I sent an email to all members and all residents regarding the code of ethics.
Okay. And I guess on page 5, number 10, are we still planning on doing more billboards, or is that just stating the fact that we did it?
I assume that's the firehouse billboard.
Yeah, it's fire, that's.
I didn't put my ear.
That's the firehouse lease, the billboard on the lease.
But we're not looking to do more billboards, are we?
Not particular, no. I can update you that we did sign the lease on that this week. So that's an ongoing
So the
situation.
lighthouse, do we know, do we have any timing on that, when that's gonna happen?
We signed it this week. He is now proceeding to get it. We had to sign the agreement before he could go get his construction permit, so it's in the process.
And, the last thing, Michael, I'm sorry. This liability of aging water oak trees on Deer Run. It says that there's a plan, I'd like to see a plan on tree removal for the district.
Okay.
Because I don't think we have it. I agree, it has to be done.
We have one on the golf course. I thought we
I think
shared
that
that.
is time.
Yeah, well, we need to do it in, yeah, we'll do one for the district as well.
Other than that, really, that's what it's worth.
Any public comment? Okay, add-on items. Petitions and communications.
A letter from Mr. Halleck. I think, rather than-
So maybe you got the copy that was included in the board packet.
Yes.
That's the other one.
Staff reports.
Yeah, you go.
Good morning, supervisors. I would like to start by updating you on membership. We have sold a few more this month, so we're sitting at 97% of our budgeted membership revenues, which is about $30,000 short of budget at this time. So we're just continuing to creep up on that number. Quick restaurant updates. From last meeting, we ordered 2 umbrellas. They have arrived, they've been put together and working to keep those out there. Now they're gonna have to be bolted into the concrete in order to keep them from flying away, if you will. So that will be happening probably early next week. We'll get those up and then we will evaluate the situation. And if we want to put in a couple 2 more, we will execute that at that time. We do have some events coming up in July, obviously next Friday. We have the fireworks, we're doing a buffet dinner, we're having a buffet dinner in the restaurant with private seating on the back lawn, and that, those reservations have been really good. We're looking at 150, I didn't look at it this morning, but it could start to push closer to 200 folks coming for that buffet dinner. We're having another trivia night on July 6th. July 23rd, we will have another dinner and dancing. So we do have one tonight. Reservations aren't where I'd like to see them for that. So we'll definitely continue for more awareness of our events. Hopefully folks are getting more comfortable getting out and doing those activities. So hopefully in the future, we see those events have more reservations. We do have a buffet on July 27th. It will be a comfort food buffet. If you want to see what that looks like, I do have a flyer here, or you can pick one up at the restaurant, but that will be later in July. Golf update. We spoke to all of you individually about the Citrus Open Golf Tournament, which would be the first, hopefully, annual event in conjunction with the Citrus Golf Trail and the TEC. Obviously, this event, as we broke it down to you, if we were to host it, it's going to be basically November 29th through December 2nd. 2 of those days will require both courses in the morning. I think when I sat down with a couple of you individually, we originally were looking at 3 days. However, it looks like the final day of the tournament they have to cut, and they will have less players, so we'll actually only need 1 course. So it's only really going to disrupt play on Tuesday, November 30th, and Wednesday, December 1st, so we will have to require All of our member groups do play in that, so it's a little bit less than income used to membership than we had originally. All I would like from the board right now is if you have a comment on that, or just give us our blessing to do that, because obviously it's gonna close both courses down for the morning wave on those 2 days, so if you guys are all okay with it, we'll go ahead and move forward. So, you guys can do it.
But it is, based on the numbers, for some, financially, it'd be $14,000 to $19,000. And actually, that's about anywhere from $7,000 to $12,000 over what we normally make during those 2 days.
Yes, that is correct.
And is that, what's that based on, how many participants? I know you don't have any idea.
All right, so it structures differently. Now, they're planning on having up to 160 participants.
Yeah,
Would
we
be
know
the
that.
maximum.
Yeah.
And that would require 2 courses. If they were as low as, if for some reason participation comes in low and they're at 90 participants, that would only require 1 course, so it would be less of an interruption of our normal play. So there's definitely some room to fluctuate in there. But in either situation, the financials, it makes sense financially either way, because if they have less players, we have more for play, never play and most. The goal is definitely to be between 120 and 160. They're very confident that they will do that. Being that we are centrally located to pretty much everyone in the state, so they feel they can draw from East Coast, West Coast, Orlando. They're very confident that we will get over 120.
I'm in favor.
Thank you.
So am I.
Thank you.
That's enough right there.
All right. Thank you, supervisors. Moving on to the maintenance side, obviously Jimmy's been here almost 4 weeks now. A lot of projects going on out there.
I'm sorry, just a minute, right? I'm sorry. Yeah.
So some of the things that we have going on, we've completed aerification of greens and fairways on Turtle Run. They will start to aerify tees probably next week, and that's probably gonna happen on both courses, aerify tees, greens, and fairways on both courses moving forward. The bulkhead repair on number 1 Turtle, that will be completed here shortly. They have filled in those areas and repaired them. There is sod that we've recovered from some of the T project that is out there. So that will be, that is basically complete, but we will need to have the running time for the sod to be reestablished.
Hey, Mike, Eric, another question. I haven't been out to Turtle. I know we're getting rid of the bunker on 1 and 2. Can we turn those into grass bunkers, or we just level them off?
I wouldn't necessarily declare them as grass bunkers, but they will be sodded, correct?
So we're gonna kind of level them.
They will be, yes, they won't necessarily be a bunker area, but they'll be sodded.
Then the other thing, just to let you know, I've had a lot of complaints from members about the amount of work being done on deer, and deer's the only place it's open. And I'm just gonna pass that on to you. They're playing around with a few boxes, with heavy equipment, they're not stopping to allow the guys to tee off. I mean, I'm just getting a lot of complaints.
Sure.
Plus the guys who are mowing now, if I may, guys who are mowing now seem to be out of control. They don't stop or anything, they just mow.
All right, I will update Jimmy on that, obviously he's gonna.
Yeah, we check it out, just try to get them.
The T project, yeah, the rough end will be complete probably next week, and then that work, when that works.
Everybody's asking me why the turtles closed, why they work.
They're doing both, the T project, it's on both.
I know, but I don't think we were under that impression that we were going to work on both questions.
Well, the timeline to finish it,
I know we're gonna have work done on
Right.
that, but not simultaneous.
correct.
I'll just pass it on, there's a lot of people that are, they're
Sure.
trying to play.
I'll work with Jimmy to see with the land deer guys, because those guys work with T-brush our crew to see if, to make sure that they are coordinated to where they're not interrupting play. Obviously, we have a small window to get it, we gotta get it complete, so we can get the grilling and have it ready for October. But I will see if we can do it efficiently with interrupting the least amount of play as possible.
I don't know that anybody specifically said they would be done together, but if you think about the timing to get it done and get the grow in, it almost had to be done simultaneously. You couldn't do one.
I understand, but, you know, it would have been nice to know it was gonna happen.
I guess I just assumed everybody would understand that.
I mean,
That was on me. I should have said, okay, guys, we're gonna be working on both courses at the same time.
14T at Deer was a joke the other day. They're actually grading the land and 10 feet away from GMR. That's not good.
We'll work to see if we can be a little more efficient. They're very close to you, so. Yeah.
You know, everybody wants it to look good, but nobody wants you to know while they're standing there. I get it, sooner or later, somebody's gotta have some kind of reasonableness, but yeah, we can talk to the guys.
Moving on, we've applied the map side to the greens on deer. And then we applied to the greens on turtle. What that is we did a study as far as our nematode counts on both courses in several areas, greens, tees, fairways and rough areas. We do have some nematode issues in certain areas, so we put applications out there to combat that. Turtle greens have been aerified, they've been vertical in 4 different directions, they've been top dressed, and top dressed has been sweeped in all greens on turtle. I'd have to say that the healing process from the aerification from 5/8 plug is very good. I was very pleased to see how well they have healed them already. When we able to turn back up, I think you guys will be real pleased. While we were closed on turtle, we repaired the cart pass on 11/15. Thanks to Mr. Hurley and his crew for helping us out with that. They also fixed the cart path on number 9 deer. That was done kind of during play. We just kind of out of traffic. Both courses have had an application of pre-emergent applied to the rough. Basically, we're trying to prevent from having to do post-emergent herbicide by improving our pre-emergent program. The bunkers on 1 and 2 have been filled in and they will be sodded. When we prep some areas for some coquina, we'll come up with some sod to fill in those areas. The forward tee program, the rough end should be finished this week, maybe early next week, and then we will obviously begin the growing phase very shortly. Now on the maintenance side, obviously we had a conversation this week about some equipment that Jimmy has stated will make his operation run more efficiently. Worked with Dan and Omar to come up with an idea of how we can make that program work. I feel the supervisors were all in agreement that if we could work it out, we would move forward with that. So we just need to talk about the new tractor with the loader, a material handler, and a dump trailer. Now we discussed the financial side of that. The total is right around $98,000 for those pieces of equipment. For the 4-year lease would be about $2,200 a month. The proposal at this time was that we would find a way to work that into our operating budget for the first year, so we can get this equipment here as soon as possible, and then we would work it into our capital lease the following year. Appreciate it, stated. So, with the board's support, we will move forward so we can get that equipment as needed for efficiency as, we have a lot of projects going on, so we can move a lot of material and help us cut hours. We want to top dress greens, tees, and fairways. Applying some of our products on the fairways, it will definitely reduce the amount of time it takes to do those projects, so we can use those man hours elsewhere. So,
Not increasing anything, we're just gonna give Jim the option to buy whatever he needs, or listen, whatever he needs.
this equipment, yes, we would go into this, we would enter a lease into this equipment. Year 1, 2022, we would use it, we will pay for it out of our operating budget, which we'll have to find, we'll have to go through, and then obviously we'll bring it back to the board next meeting. So we will put it in there, and then when we get to year 2, which would be 2023, when our maintenance equipment lease comes up, we have some equipment falling off that lease, we will then put it in conjunction with that lease at that time.
I forgot to put it here. So when last I heard, and tell me if it's changed, I apologize for this, is that you're gonna take some money out of your existing budget to cover the cost until next year's fiscal year. And then you will incorporate those budget into the lease budget. So there was no dollars involved whatsoever.
That is correct.
Still how it is.
That is correct.
Correct. I,
As long as it's revenue neutral or expense neutral, it's kind of up to,
so do we start to go through the process
absolutely. As long as it's policy, we have to go through the process, yes.
but that's the intention. There is no additional cost to us whatsoever, with the exception of next year's lease, maybe a few dollars difference.
Yes, it will affect the new lease going forward.
Correct.
But we would probably be asking for that at that time anyway. We're just asking to get it sooner so we can be more efficient now.
But by the time you get through the process, it's probably going to be too late for the summary. So I think it's kind of a 6-1 half dozen, but yeah. And the thought is, as I told you all, that we don't think there's a need to, when we redo the equipment lease, to get new gators. And this equipment should be more than offset by the reduction in lease.
Is the board okay with moving forward? Thank you. Unless you have questions for me, that is all I have.
So I have a few updates. I believe Dan updated the board last week that the district did receive its third consecutive budget award. I know this is a long drawn out process, and a lot of time goes into this budget process between a lot of funds. So it's always a good thing that it's the third consecutive year we've done that. Did want to update you as well on RFPs. We're pretty much done for this current year's budgets. RFPs, there's no major projects that are out there lingering. What we're starting to do now is planning for next year. We have the irrigation project that we're trying to get out as quick as possible in order to make sure we can get it in next year's budget. And then, getting contractor scheduled and in place for next summer. We also have the playground. So we met this week with the city of Sebring. They went through a process in 2019 of going out to different vendors, finding out who can do playground structures. The candidate that they selected is the same candidate that we're going to recommend to use. Right now, we're going through the logistics of trying to figure out how we can do that within our purchasing policy. Once again, their contract is from 2019. The district policy is that we can't use any contracts older than 12 months. More than likely, we're going to come back and ask you guys to either do an exception or change that policy. I don't see that there's a benefit of why that 12-month time frame is in place. If a vendor is willing to honor their price from 2 years ago, I don't see any detriment to the district as to why we would not accept 2-year-old pricing on their services. So that's just to give you an update. I think that'll help us eliminate having to go through the RFP, wait for 4 or 5 months, and make sure that we can get this done the next summer. So hopefully by either the next meeting or the one after, end of August, we should have all those things tied up and brought back to the board for approval to move forward with those projects. Any questions on that? On the RFP or the budget? And then the last thing I have, Dan and I have been kind of discussing, part of this budget, there's a lot of intricate detail kind of behind the scenes that is kind of operated solely by district staff. Some of that being employee benefits, our 401k retirement plan, property and casualty insurance. Right now, the board really doesn't get involved with any of those dynamics on a personal or detailed basis. So what we recommend is something similar to what the county does. They appoint a liaison, for example, for the health insurance committee. There's a board appointed liaison that kind of sits on the committee, discusses what how the insurance program is performing, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, should we adjust, should we cap fees. So our recommendation for the next meeting would be to try and establish some sort of committee with a board of supervisors. I would like to have also maybe an outside representative. It could be from the district, it could be a district resident, as long as they have some familiarity with insurance. I think that would be beneficial from that standpoint. So
We did this last year, right? It was so. Or
we'll tell me sat in on the assessment of field.
Yeah, he was on a different committee, but we did basically the same thing.
We did it when I was on the board and for the retirement plan.
And Dan did it from one.
Right.
I don't mind if you do this, but in my mind, our general manager should be representing the supervisor, and apparently they weren't. I don't know if it's gonna make any difference, but we need to have somebody that's looking out for the district.
Absolutely. I think
And
that's
if
what
this isn't happening.
I think even aside from the supervisor, we're a small entity. Not everyone on staff is an investment advisor. That's just not in our scope of work. So if we could have a volunteer from Edward Jones or Merrill Lynch sit in on this committee, it's only going to be a benefit to not only the district, but the employees, to kind of oversee the plan, make sure we're making decisions in the right path. Health insurance, no one on staff is an expert in health insurance, claims, and medical. So if we could get someone from the outside entities or someone who maybe worked in the past in their prior life in that field, it can only be a benefit to have them sit as a part of the committee and kind of get their input as to what we should do going forward. So we'll send you an email with the committees we think should be established, and we can discuss that at the next meeting as to who was going to sit in on those and how often we plan on meeting to have those conversations.
But I think it's very important that we have a supervisor who then is the liaison with you guys, because really, it's your responsibility, and you should have input.
Yeah, and if you want me to, I can appoint somebody or ask right now if you want it, but I just think this is the cart before the horse, isn't it? But this help, Dan, now, I mean, where we are.
It's up to you. We really need to establish a committee and then determine who's going to be on it. But if you want to appoint one now, that's fine. It's up to you.
Is there anybody?
There's gonna be more than what we did. Correct. I think, personally, I'd like to see what the list is first before we start.
Okay,
I think it would be well, ideal, all five of us will be here.
okay. Yeah, I think he's due back July 30th or when
That's fine.
Okay.
We can do that.
Omar, how many building permits have we had so far this year?
We just issued 3 more to Southern Home this past week, so I think we're up to 56 now. We kind of slowed down for the past couple of weeks, but they submitted 3 more and we're back up.
And 2 commercial?
2 commercials, so I did want to give you guys an update. That's a good point. Next to, right on Frontage Road, next to the Big Border Bank, you'll see that they cleared that Frontage Road lot. That's going to be 3 medical offices. So we're starting to see some construction there. Over by the Dollar General, there's some land that was deemed almost wetland or timberland by the county. We didn't think it was going to be usable, but it's been cleared as well. The owner of that lot is starting to clear, and it looks like they have plans to develop. Initially, there was a plan for an A&W beer restaurant to go there. Looks like they're planning on expanding even more. I don't have the full details as to what's going on there, but we are starting to see some commercial development, which is a good sign. Thank you.
They do own that one business from Heartland that road there all the way to the sign, right?
Correct.
By Dollar General. Okay, it's quite big. And I, just to let supervisors know, I don't know if they know, I drove inside or around Deer Run, there's 43 starts right now within Deer Run, just within Deer Run. Houses that work on, and that's not lots that are clear but not being worked on, that's just being worked on, 43 right now. Just in Deer Run.
Okay. And good morning, supervisors. Just a few quick updates. First, I want to update you that the Burdock Grant that we discussed at the last meeting, the county has approved us to submit, or I guess they have agreed to submit our Burdock application on our behalf, since that's not something that we are able to do. So we're kind of working through that. Corbett has agreed to train me in the FERDAP process so that moving forward, he says it's a very, very simple application process, that's something that we should be able to do in-house after I get the hang of this first one. He's gonna help walk me through that. So just a quick update on that regards as we were discussing the playground. Another update, the signs for the golf course entrances that were discussed have been ordered and we're in. Mike and I worked together on that, and his guys are going to get those installed.
Oh, the signs are in already?
The signs are in already.
I forgot this, how are those umbrellas?
They're there. They are there.
They're installed.
Are they in?
They're there.
Are you in the same meeting as us?
Michael.
They-
He told you.
There's two of them are there. The issue is that they are a trip hazard the way that they are put up in, so we gotta figure out where to put them so that we don't wind up with somebody taking a spill. And secondly, if we're gonna do more of them, then we have to figure out how to accommodate that as well. But we will do that.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be.
So. They're very tall. Yeah, they
I said they're not portable.
portable, no, well,
No.
yeah, they are, but we're probably gonna fix them where they're not. In order to keep them from being blown away, you almost have to anchor them.
Okay, and then my last update, which Mike already touched on, was just a reminder that next Friday, July 2nd, we will be doing the Independence Day fireworks. We will be sending out email blasts continually next week to make sure people know about it. Typically every year, we also send out some sort of notification to residents, just a friendly reminder to, bring your pets inside, or just kind of be aware that sometimes pets aren't big fans of fireworks, so to keep a close eye on them, because we tend to get lots of runaways during that time, so that's all.
Ray, Ray, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me turn you on.
The umbrellas, okay, we have to, just so you know what's going on, it was already said once, I wanna make sure you know. We have 2 umbrellas, we wanna order 2 more because the way we have to set them up, they have to be bolted into the ground, into the concrete, so we're in the process of doing this right now, so I wanna make sure you know, okay? We've been doing a lot of work on the golf course, helping Mike with some golf paths. I took Michael out yesterday and showed him. So we've been real busy with that. We have some money for concrete, so we're doing it as a joint.
Did you say you have to put the umbrellas into the concrete?
Yes, you got it. Yes, sir. If you want to go over after, I'll take you over how it's got done, so we don't have to get into this. But you have to bolt them down. Okay, all right. We've been doing a lot of concrete work. We've been working with the golf course. It's really working out well. We've taken a lot of bad spots out and fixed them. So you'll notice all that. Watch orders, we have 747 watch orders last month, which is a lot. We've only found 2 homes open, so we're in really good shape there. Notices, Brumfield, the 203 warning notices. And with the way we changed it now, he did find someone, and someone actually came in and paid the first fine after the second notice. So we have, you know, that's starting to work. Bob did this week, he went to school and renewed his license, and he also last week, the week before, got his license for spraying the mosquitoes and whatever, so, because we have to have somebody on staff in order to spray. So, we will be moving some fencing around the cart barns, and that'll start next week.
Next week?
Yeah. We're very, very busy. So,
Just around the car, that's it, right?
yes, yes. Yeah, I don't know if, okay, any questions?
Once that fence is removed, we're gonna take down that. We'll clean up that hill as you pull around in the golf cart. Get rid of the weeds.
Yes, 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 Beverly, we plan on, because,
Clean that up.
yes, exactly, yeah, as soon as we take the fence, we'll clean all that up,
Okay.
all right? Okay. Thank you.
The hill you're talking about has been better acceptable where they planted grass, the tall grass. I guess we're gonna have to come in and weed like that in between.
Yeah, there will be some follow-up cleanup work to that. It'll be a project for a little bit here.
Till it grows.
The problem in that whole area will be to keep it, not getting it clean the first time. I hope we can do better there.
Right.
That's kind of part of the putting money in the golf course budget from the $70 that residents pay to back up to the golf course. So all of that's supposed to be maintained.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. General counsel report.
Okay, still no update on Castro. Just July 4th will be the 6 months. It'll be 6 months since anything's come out of the second ECA. So hopefully the next board meeting, maybe there'll be some motion on that. Talked to Mr. Laconi about the Avanti suit. We're looking to initiate mediation late July, early August, based on our meeting on July 30th. I think we're probably going to shoot for early August for a mediation. Probably we'll have to have President Gilpin present at that mediation, and then if we do come to a potential resolution, it will be subject to board approval. So
Is that the water meters?
I'm sorry, the water meters,
That's the
correct?
water.
Yeah. And so we may have to have a shade meeting, but I'll make that determination just depending on how the mediation goes once it's scheduled. Next wave of foreclosures went out for on the bondholder properties. It was 7 went out last week. And based on my conversation with the bondholder personnel, we'll be getting another wave probably after the 4th holiday to send out to additional foreclosures. I did have a conversation with them about potentially, because when these foreclosures are complete, the district owns the property. And pursuant to our agreement with the bondholders, we're required to market those properties and try and get them sold for as much money as possible. The district recovers its expenses and then submits any additional funds back to the bondholders. The bondholders have suggested that they may want us to transfer the property to them. That would remove our responsibility for marketing them. Require some sort of agreement regarding how assessments will work. So we're gonna, but once we get this next batch, assuming that this next series of foreclosures yields favorable results and deeds in lieu of foreclosure, I'll put together a plan on how to transfer the property over to the bondholders so they can see the market, take that off the district's plate. But that'll come before the board, obviously, before it happens. So. Oh, and we've also, although it appears we've reached an agreement with them, there's some properties that were covered by the bond that the district needs for district use, specifically over by the Public Works Department. And looks like and then there's one additional parcel out on 27. And it looks like we've come to an agreement where the district will hold on to those properties and have the bonds wiped off. So officially, we don't have any responsibility. They'll officially be 100% district owned properties, and we don't have any responsibility to market them or sell them since we're wanting to keep them ourselves.
Very good. General manager report.
Just a few things to update you. During COVID, we closed the community center, and the only way you could access the library was if you went to the pool office and got a card and came and opened the door, then you had to take the card back. Since we are now open, again, COVID is not as important as it once was, I guess. We're going to issue cards to residents. If you already have one, we'll fix it where it works this store. Already resident can get a card for free that will allow you to access the library between 8 and 8. So this way that it won't be open 24 all day long to anybody that wants to walk in. The way that thing works, a dog can come in here and all they get any kind of motion opens it. So we really don't need to have it as open as it has been in the past. And we have said, I think one incident of damage here from kids coming in.
How do we communicate that?
Couple different ways, so we can definitely send that out via email blast to all residents. The August newsletter will begin to be prepared next week, so that's something that we can include in the newsletter as well. We also have the ability to send emails to all of our memberships through Rec Desk, and so we can basically send. It would be a little different email than they would get just as a general resident, because if someone already has a pool membership or a racquet club membership, they don't need to come in to get another card. It's the click of a button for us, and now their card will automatically open the community center. So that email will look a little different for those folks. So we'll definitely send one that's separate and more tailored to folks who have a membership currently.
You might put a temporary post notice on the door.
Sure. Absolutely.
We actually have access now. Second thing we're working on is the meter project. We have Drew Jones preparing a draft RFP to go out for the meters, so that we can get that done as quickly as possible. We also have a conference call next Wednesday with a consultant to just take a look at the RFP and make sure we didn't miss anything. It's way too important not to make sure we do this properly. We don't want to be back where we are again 5 years from now. But what we're looking at is basically a sonic meter. There are no moving parts, measures sound waves on one end, on the other end, and it decides how much water has gone through. That's probably more than you really want to know. The bottom line is there are no operating parts, so there's nothing to wear out. It should last their warranty for 20 years is what we're looking at. We will have the opportunity, according to Guardian, Corbett Guardian, if we wish, we can probably get that financed from an SRF. So in the worst case scenario, it's in the budget. We'll look at it in a little bit just to pay for it out of expenses. We can do that, or we can borrow it. That'll be up to you guys. But we're working on it. The second piece of that is that most of them, well, not most of, a lot of the meters are in the ground and in there for 30 or 40 years. And some of them are broken, some of them aren't. Part of the RFP will be fix the ones that need fixing, and what's that going to cost us up front. based on the various sites. There's a small box, it's an individual one. And there's some that have 4 or 5 meters in it for like condo projects. So we'll put all that together. What we're trying to do is fix the whole thing while we're fixing it. We want to fix it where we don't have to do it again for a very long time. Unit 23, DEP audit examination, whatever you want to call it, identified 3 issues over there. We have now fixed all 3 of those, even though we haven't gotten their written report yet. We just took the initiative to go ahead and fix, raise the berms, if you will, on the sediment ponds. We fixed any leaks that were in the wall, and we have fixed the monitoring wells. The only thing left to do, I think, is put a concrete pad around the monitoring wells, which is a relatively simple thing to do. Bottom line is we haven't even gotten the report yet. We fixed everything they told us. Just so you know, we're up to date there. I met with Scrub J guy, Kurt Olson. We haven't apparently been doing exactly what we should have been doing on the Turtle Run Conservation Easement. We're meeting with him again next week, and we're going to go back and make sure that we clean up anything that should have been done in the past that hasn't been done to the extent that we can. At some point in time, the board's going to need to decide whether or not we try to move that conservation easement. It's actually an upland conservation easement, which is maintained to Scrub J standards, which is a little different. We have property out in Unit 20 that we could do that relatively simply if DEP is in agreement. The question is, do you go talk to DEP about it or not? You just fix what we got. That'll be your decision probably within the next 90 days, but in the interim, I want to make sure that we get back on track and do what we're supposed to do. I mentioned that we had signed the lease on the property for the billboard. That was done Wednesday with Charlie. He is now going to get apply for his permit and do all the paperwork that has to be done to get the billboard erected. So assuming that he runs into no issues, we should be seeing that happen pretty quickly. As Mike said, we're working on getting the irrigation and Deer Run RFP out. Problem with that thing is you have to do it so far in advance to make sure that you get it done in the time frame that it has to be done, which is obviously here in the summertime when we're less busy than we are in the winter time. So there's a pretty good lead time, and we want to make sure we get out far enough that we get contractors who will bid before they get busy. At this point in time, that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you. Unfinished business,
None.
new business,
None.
committee reports,
None.
a public comment.
Hello, everybody. Good day. Comments about when I moved down here from Maryland, I was surprised to see people park on the lawns. And want to know what's being done with a lot of people parking on the lawns for oil, whatever. Something to be done.
Well, I can answer that for you. We, like I said, we sent 203 warning notices out last month. Probably a quarter of them are people parking on lawns. What we do is we send them a letter, and they have so many days to get it off the lawn. If they don't in the past, or if they would take it off, then they were okay. Now, because you change it, if they park their car in the lawn, we give them a notice, all right? They take it off again, right? and they put it back on the next day or whatever. Now we're able to find them right away. And that's what the lady came in and paid the first fine. So we did change that, which we should have probably done years ago. But that's what we're doing with that. The problem here is renters. Most of the people that rent are the ones that do it. So we're going back, and I'm sure you know that, you know. So we are working on that, and hopefully we'll be finding the homeowners or the landlords from here on out, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does that include those mud racing vehicles and all that part of the yards too?
Well-
That neighbors do that. That's bad.
So what are you talking, like the four-wheelers and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, we cite them, they move them, and then they hide them on us. You know, I mean, it's over and over and over. But now that we have this new policy, yes, we will be able to find them right away.
All right.
So that should help us a lot. I mean, thanks to Dan and David, we changed that. Our code enforcement knows that. He's actually fined the first person like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and she actually paid $75 for parking and, you know, on the line, and that's pretty steep. So I think if we wake them up that way, that'll help.
Thank you. So someone, how much I have, everybody, great job, appreciate it. Have you thought about bringing in other revenue by, I don't know, our tennis courts up to standards and shuffleboard, but there was a national shuffleboard contest in Seabury this past February, March, and I remember gentlemen who's been winning for about 15 to 20 years. And we had a beautiful shuffleboard that nobody uses. Have you thought about actually bringing them from tennis to shuffleboard and getting contests here? That would be bringing revenue to the restaurant as well. I recommend we do something like that.
So I was not aware of the shuffleboard contest, but if you want to see me and if you have some contact information, they would be okay with you sharing, we'd be happy to reach out to them. Regarding pickleball and tennis, we have been approached by a pickleball professional who is interested in helping us kind of coordinate some play and
I'm familiar with that.
Okay. yes, okay, so that is something that we are looking into as well.
And the other thing about cementing the umbrellas to the concrete, I totally don't understand, because I used to work at Sears and know about umbrella stands and stuff like that. Why is it necessary to break the concrete from the stands itself or break that?
You want me to get it? I'll get it. What they bought was they have legs on them. Okay, they're metal legs, they're not the ones you're probably thinking of that you fill with water or sand or something. The umbrellas things. These are really big. Mike, I don't know what size you bought, but
These are pretty large. They're not
Yeah.
the kind of umbrellas you put in your backpack.
Yeah.
They're big.
right, and they open up. They don't open up around. They open up like this way, so they hang over. So they're gonna be hanging over the tables. So the reason why we have to fasten them is obviously for wind. The wind and they have feet on them. Right, so we have to bolt them down. And our concern is if we put them too close, people will be tripping over them, so we gotta move them back and fasten them to the concrete.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I recommend you stay in touch with Ariel, if you can, make sure. Okay,
George Pufferberger wasn't, I didn't hear, I don't hear it well. And it was enough wall. The cards for the community center, they have access to water. Did I understand you to say that's for weekends too?
I don't believe we discussed doing it for the weekends. Only reason being is we have weekend rentals in this building. Yes, sir, that's correct.
The other question is, Michael, have you seen the swale filled in over where the gentleman has put a 4-inch pipe and covered it with sandstone?
No, I don't know anything about it, so I mean, I'll go over there after. What's the address? Okay, Ozuna?
It's on the east end of it.
Okay, I'll go over there. I mean, they're not, right, they're not supposed to do that, and we, you know,
Of course not, I want
Right.
to just approve it.
okay, no.
It's
I don't know what we allow.
a hazard in a whole lot of ways. First of all,
Right.
it's sandstone and heavy short on portion.
Right,
And it's going to block,
Yeah.
it's not going. He's got a, what's called a houseboat or something in the back,
okay,
which is okay, it's like covered with. But
yeah, I didn't
he's got to
see
do
it.
a better job than that, or he got the site.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll find it. I'll go
The other
there.
is, I have Mike, you say percentage of membership for done it before, like myself. What was your goal, and what's your current membership?
I was speaking in revenue, so our revenue budget for the year was,
Care about revenue, number.
the number of members that are eligible to play golf on a given day is right around 500. We have never set like a cap or anything on membership, so there's not necessarily
Have you restate that, how many golf memberships do you have?
memberships, there's 350 or something memberships, which equates to close to 500 golfers with couples.
What counts as memberships, not that.
Well, a couple, a husband and wife is one membership and 2 golfers. So that's
So, then Omar, for you, so how many water meters are we currently have in the district? 30. With probably, does that include the new applicants you just mentioned? 350 members, so less than 10% of the district plays golf.
I've never,
Anyway, that's what it is.
yeah, I've never necessarily approached it that way. I mean, I know I play golf, and I'm not in that category of membership.
Maybe you ought to wait, you know, pay when you play, so. The only other issue I have, I think it's the light to have a general manager that actually is coaching, concise answers to questions of the board. Other than when you ask the question, you don't want to get the reply, it's a question, what would you like to do, supervisor?
Thank you, Jordan.
Robert, got to address one thing about. I know several people who want to golf but can't afford to. They could possibly, I know when you moved in here, like I bought a house 2 years ago, you got to reduce the rate for golf in the first year. Possibly getting down to beginners for $500 a year for somebody to try it out. So that you can get people that can't afford $3,000 or $2,000 a year. And have a next year event at the restaurant, open sign up, see who potentially we want to belong at a reduced rate. If you want to get more people doing things, you got to reach them out. Not everybody can afford to do what everybody else can do. And I encourage you to this group's revenue for the restaurant, for the golf course, and go talk to other people, and maybe you'll get interested to make sure we'll be able to afford $1,000. Before fun, anything going, and like the tennis courts, the shuffleboard, the more people golf, instead of the same people think they're going to do. You want more money? Bring it in somehow. Work on it.
Any other public comment? Sally, you can comment now on what you want to comment on if you'd like to come up. Okay. We have comments from the commission. Right now, something new.
Yeah, well, I met with Dan last week and because I'm the liaison also on the soil and water conservation district board. They had placed on their agenda point for me to make comments, if y'all had questions for me. So that is up to your board and to the president. Certainly glad to speak and give you an update. Couple things, our fire assessment, building of our countywide fire rescue department, that continues to move forward. The average residential increase is going to be about 50 cents a month. Next year's about $6 a year is what the average residential increase will be. We continue to try to transition from a volunteer, which was all volunteer based, especially fire system. We had an EMS department from the fire end was a volunteer based system here in the county. Of course, as the county has grown, from the need for services has grown also, that we made the decision back in 2018 to build a main fire rescue system. So that is proceeding forward, and trying to do that, methodically as we can, and try to keep the burden down as much as we can on the annual increase. So it's buying a lot of infrastructure, it's buying a lot of equipment, it's hiring additional staff, paramedics, and firemen are cross-trained fire and rescue. So we're working on that. On the garbage end, the county has filed with our current contract for Waste Connections, the separation agreement that has been presented to them. We're waiting on a response from Waste Connections. That doesn't necessarily mean anything's carved in stone that we'll be separating from them, but that somewhat of our attention is moving forward because of what we have been dealing with service-wise with Waste Connections. And as I stated before, and a lot of y'all with, we're keeping up on that, our recycling program certainly has support in Adams County. So what it looks like, the temperature, I think what's moving forward is that more than likely curbside recycling is going to stop in the county. You will then be permitted to use both of your cans, your blue can and your green can as a garbage can. And then we will develop a drop-off recycling locations, probably at least a minimum of 3 of them, one in Avon Park, one in Cedar, one in Lake Placid, on a particular day or days that those that wish to recycle will have a place to do that. We're required by DEP to have a recycling component, and we're not required to have curbside recycling. We have to have a means for those that want to recycle, that they have a means to do that. So the curbside recycling, because of the contamination in the green containers, has been a huge burden for our contractor, for the county, and certainly complicated things. So recently the board approved, we had to publish what a maximum rate would be. I mean, that's what's going to be imposed, but we all know there's certain things you have to file and do ahead of time. Now, print notices will go out, and currently each resident is paying $173 a year for their solid waste collection. We've noticed in public that potentially could go to $240 a year. I don't see it going to $240 a year. We are continuing to work with Waste Connections to see. They have sent in some special staff from out of county to clean up their service issues. I met with senior management with Waste Connections in regards to that, and they are making improvements. But my concern is if the improvements will stay or if they're just temporary, because we've been through this with them before. We're in year 5 of the 10-year contract with Waste Connections, and we do have a 10-year contract with them. And we have to make a choice moving forward whether we break that contract or we continue with that. As your commissioner and representing this district, we got committed to fixing the problem, not just for a short period of time, but at least through the terms of their contract if they stay with us. So a lot of people don't have an appetite of us negotiating with them because they're in a contract with us. And the service certainly has not been the best that they've provided here in the county. So a lot of people don't have a stomach to even continue a conversation with Waste Connections. We put out an RFP for a new contractor to come in. And we know that that cost will come in higher than where we're at now. So we're looking to try to, fix the problem and get the level of service that we deserve in this county. And so that's still moving along. There's no definitive decision on that, but that is going to be fixed. Our separation agreement with Waste Management is accepted. We give them, they can provide service up to February next year. If needed, if we were able to enter into a contract with another provider, then service, of course, they would exit when that appropriate time came. So we're not going to leave garbage sitting on the side of the road piling up. But curbside recycling, we have a contract, and it states in the contract with the county that they are to provide pickup for recyclable materials. And with it being contaminated, and I'm not talking about contaminated a little bit, what happens is you can have somebody on an entire row of streets that they're doing everything right, and then you go to the next street over, and you've got 10 or 12 cans that are full of the wrong stuff that contaminates the entire load of recycling. So that's a huge problem because recycling now is picked up in the county, goes to a transfer station out of the Burdock Grant landfill, dumped off of a truck, that picks it up on your curbside. Then it's reloaded on a semi and sent to South Florida, Miami-Dade County, to a recycling facility there. Gets dumped off the semi and gets inspected. It then fails inspection, has to be reloaded on another semi and sent 5 hours north to Osceola County to a waste collection zone landfill to be dumped at their landfill. That's a negative environmental impact all the way through. Recycling is meant to be a positive environmental impact end result. So it simply does not work. We have canvassed neighborhoods, we have knocked on doors, we have videos on recycling tips, we've done everything we can possibly do to try to get people to pick up or to clean up their recycling, and it's not working with the county. You that have been here for a period of time, this county went from picking up your garbage twice a week. You could put out as many cans as you wanted from your house. 2 guys hung on the back of the garbage truck and they slung garbage cans in the back of the garbage truck every single day. Okay, those days have changed. If you can imagine what workers' comp rates are for that type of service, to the danger of somebody hanging on the back of the truck down the road. And of course, back injuries and what have you with the heavy garbage cans. So it's either going to an automated system, the barn picks up your container and dumps it in the truck. So things have changed. And so we went from 2 days a week to 1 day a week. A very large blue can, which is about equal to 2 normal garbage cans that you would maybe 500 people or what have you. But it's still not enough for some families. So when their blue can gets filled, of course, then they use their green can as their garbage can. And nobody's writing fines, and it's impossible to have enough enforcement, enough resources, dollars wise to go out there and start fining people for dumping the wrong things in their garbage can. So that's not a doable thing. So we have to look at changing our recycling program. And if we can work out some things, I'm willing to listen to Waste Connections, and if they're willing to put some new terms into their contract that's going to guarantee the level of service, the type of equipment they have here. They went from paying their drivers to a daily rate to an hourly rate here recently. They gave them each a $2 an hour raise. And morale is they hired 4 additional drivers last week. They now have 2 certified mechanics that are keeping the equipment up and going. So, but I met with them. This is what I'm troubled with. Why has it taken over 2 years to get to the table and fix these problems? That's what bothers me. Because we have been letting them know of problems. We've been documenting the cases that we have, the complaints that we have in the county when it comes to garbage pickup. And apparently it was not getting to the right people. So I said, you folks have a real problem with communication. But I know as a businessman that you're infusing a lot of capital and a lot of dollars into the system here in Highlands County. We're paying people more, hiring more people, bringing in better trucks and better equipment. And Waste Connections is based out of Texas. It's a nationwide company. Actually, it's a Canadian company now. And I know that they're not going to continue to dump money into a losing center. Okay, the people in the big board are going to say, no more. We're going to pull those
resources back out. So unless I can be assured that the resources are going to stay here, that their complaint tracking, which they've improved and developed a system, they have all cameras back working on the trucks, and they are making efforts that are moving in the right direction. So there's more to come on that, but it's going to be resolved one way or the other. You folks spoke about the interlocal agreement, but certainly that's still something that's moving along. At the end of the day, as supervisors, you don't want to raise anybody's taxes out here. As a county commissioner, I don't want to raise anybody's taxes. Okay, that's our job, try to keep expenses low, to keep our taxes low. But when it comes to natural disasters and things that you can't budget for, that enters into a different thing. So we may very well, it may end up in a deal that the county is going to do it all. And there's going to be no liability for the district or the municipalities. And then depending on the size of the disaster and the expense, then we would go get something similar to a one-time assessment that could be done. That, okay, oh, sorry, a major hurricane hit, the county is not prepared to absorb the expenses, as y'all have seen. There is nothing government funded. Everything is taxpayer funded. Everything comes from taxpayers. Nothing is government funded. The taxpayers is who funds the government. So at the end of the day, if a natural disaster hits at a great expense that none of us are planning for, the money is going to come from the taxpayer. It will come through the district, or it's going to come to the county level. So that's what we're determining on how that is working. So keep our fingers crossed that we don't have to deal with that certainly this year or years to come. But living in Florida is certainly something that we're exposed to. That's all I have. If you have any questions for me, serve, and we're glad to answer any questions or how to stuff.
Just the pickups on household waste and yard waste, is that impacted at all by?
I mean, it will continue no matter who we enter into an agreement with. There will be a bulk day and a yard waste day. I know with some of the other haulers that we've had some brief communications with, or that right now for horticultural yard waste, okay, you have to cut it into a certain length, you have to bundle it. It's a pain. It's a real pain to do that, okay? Some of the other haulers, they don't take that approach. They have a claw truck like the city of Sealer does. And they come out, they set up the cones, like the guy says, and he picks it up with the claw. So I see that if we switch haulers, then we may go to that when it comes to horticulture, yard waste, like the tree trimmings and things like that. And of course, then they will continue to have a bulk garbage day every 2 weeks for things that don't fit in your garbage can or what have you set up. But certainly, any issue that staff that they're aware of from your residents when it comes to garbage collection, please share that with us if you can, because everything that we can document, I'm not sure if you're getting calls in the district office about garbage pickup, but if you are, please kind of try to keep note of it, what have you. And I may reach out to you so we can use that also to present to our current contractor to let them know. So, because we don't hear about all of that. And I'm not saying a lot of people aren't experiencing problems, but many are. And I think one thing we have done a good job as a county is trying to communicate with the residents. I don't know if any of you realize when it's lightning out and it's summertime here and we get these storms, it's lightning out within a certain proximity to the landfill gets shut down. Okay, if you're up on top of this big hill, there's equipment up there. There's a spotter up there that stands out in the open that tells each garbage truck where it's dumped. Okay, when the lightning's within a certain proximity, the landfill gets closed. No trucks are going to the hill to dump. So when your garbage does not get picked up on a particular day it's supposed to do, a lot of that is out of everybody's control, county, the hauler, what have you. We need to do a better job of that, of communicating that with the public. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until 7-8 months ago. What's going on here? When we had a fire at the landfill, we've had 2 pretty major ones, going back about a month or so. And a lot of that is because of people dumping the wrong things in the trash, batteries, combustibles, things like that. Starts a landfill fire, and they're extremely tough to deal with. So when the landfill's on fire, guess what?
No trucks are going to the landfill here. They have to then travel to Okeechobee, the next closest landfill, to dump the garbage there. And if you can imagine what that trip time takes, throws everything off schedule. So we're working on it. All I'm saying, I promise we're working on it. Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Scott. Discussion.
I've got one too, I guess, probably David, but speaking of lighting, do we have any liability for not calling golfers off the course in the event of storms?
Well, there's always potential liability. So, but I think the majority of our play is at your own risk. So the big issue for me, at least, as far as risk assessment goes, is notice. And sometimes you would think that it's obvious you should be out on the course playing, and sometimes we need to be able to provide notice to people and saying, hey, we've got lightning. I know that we do that at the pool. If there's lightning, we've got a lightning tracker. If there's lightning within a certain area of the pool, we tell people to get out of the pool. I don't know that we do that on the golf course.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have any systems. And so Tuesday night was a prime example. I mean, there was some significant storms running through here, and there was people out there on the course ball. And I can't believe that's stupid. Excuse me, but
I guess my question would be, if we then acquire a lightning alert system, does that increase or decrease our liability?
Well, potentially it could increase, because if we've got a system for notifying people, we fail to notify them, now we increase our liability.
Right.
So, I mean, if you want me to look into,
I've always heard that no system is better than having a system, as far as liability.
That is correct.
I mean, if you have a system that you turn it on and somebody gets hit.
correct.
Exactly, that is correct.
Yeah.
I got a couple of things if I could. I guess we're getting close to the end of the second quarter, so I guess we have to think about scheduling a meeting with the castle management as we kind of agreed to. I don't know if the end of July is proper or the first meeting in August, but I would assume one of those two would be when we do it.
I thought that almost was on them. Tell you the truth.
This is on there.
Scheduled meetings.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't really matter, so it's, if you really want to get down to it, if they're interested in keeping this contract, they'll have to contact us.
Why don't you?
I've already started those conversations, so yes, that will happen.
The other thing that I'm concerned about is, I looked at it, I email this morning, I don't think I saw it about this, Chris, what's his name?
Shoemaker.
Huh? Shoemaker. My concern is that Andy resigned back in January, February, then beginning of February. And really, this is now almost July 1, we haven't done damn thing. We've done advertising, but as far as potential candidates, we've not talked to them. And we only have one to talk to that I'm aware of. We think, correct?
That's correct.
And we got more response from the advertising?
Not
we
really.
talked about?
No.
So we've got one potential candidate at this point that we have no idea about. So I think we gotta be a little bit proactive. And let's talk with the gentleman like you recommended. But at the next meeting, if we don't think he's the right guy or something we want to pursue, do we need a document to get a headhunter? Or let's put something into motion.
That would be my recommendation.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we gotta do something, because even if you do an RFP for a headhunter, how long does that take? Huh?
It's on my
At
list.
least a month.
I'm sorry?
A month.
A month, so that puts us already almost
That's at least,
September,
correct.
before we even look and see what we've got. To get the headhunter, and the headhunter has to go out and get some candidates for us to talk to. This poor guy, we're gonna obligate him to be here for another 18 months if we're not careful. Which I don't think is right.
Is this, I didn't get your email, man, sorry, but is this for your position that Ray's talking about, or is it for the other position?
It's kind of up to you guys.
In fact,
This this is up to you, that if you wish to interview this guy as an assistant general manager or the general manager, that's up to you. If you want me just to hire somebody who is only qualified to be the operations person, that's another question.
Okay.
We have an advertisement right now for a operations head to replace Mike. And we are getting very little response. The issue for me, and I feel like I'm stuck in quicksand sometimes around here, but we have the human resources survey being done now. Until I get that back, I don't really know what I can pay somebody. Until I get the Florida rural water back, I don't really know if I need to do a sewer treatment. We got all these things hanging fire, waiting on somebody else, but to your point, you're exactly right. This is the only guy that's qualified marginally to.
And my point is, if we don't like the guy, we will be September 1 starting from 0.
Then we need to get going.
And we're gonna have a problem, even if we like the guy, we're still gonna need somebody else. I mean, he's only 1 or 2 positions.
Correct.
And I'm just thinking we gotta get ahead of this because we're gonna be really in trouble, because even if it takes 3 months to get somebody, then we have to train them for 3 months. I mean, you're just talking a lot of time.
Correct.
So my recommendation, with the board's approval, would be to have an RFP ready for us to approve July 31st if we indeed feel we need it.
We can do that if that's your desire. I haven't given you any notice that I'm leaving, but so as far as the urgency to get rid of me, I don't care one way or the other, but you're correct. We do need to get moving. And that was the only reason I haven't moved faster on that is I'm waiting on Cody and Associates to tell me you're not paying this guy enough, so you're looking at the wrong people, or you need to be, where do you need to go?
Are we kind of bound to this thing you're waiting for?
Bound.
I mean, if they tell us, the general manager should make 80 grand, we're not gonna take it down to 80 grand. I mean,
I think 2 things would happen. You get my resignation first.
yeah, but I mean, really, they're not gonna dictate to us, are they?
No, they're not, but they're going to advise you. This
Okay.
is what you ought to be doing.
Well, that we can deal down the road. What we need is, I agree with Ray, we need to talk to somebody.
Well, how much are you gonna pay them? I mean, that's really the question. We can do an RFP for a head of it. That's the first thing you're gonna ask. What's your salary rate?
But it's just not working, and we just need. I'm not too concerned about your job, but I'm concerned about somebody to replace Mike, and it's just.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Mike's leaving, I think, January 1st.
I agree with you.
I'm concerned with both jobs.
I agree with you, Jim. We should have the Cody and Associates, Chelsea's not here, but I think the full thing's supposed to be done by the end of July.
My position on, it, even if I liked Shoemaker, I think I want to see what headhunters have to offer. Because I believe this is a very important job that we need the right person here. And if he's only half of a operations or a general manager, is there a full manager out there that we should be looking at? And I think it's fair to say that it's $100,000, okay, at 90 to 100 or something, to at least start the ball rolling. I don't know. But just because if Schumacher seem nice, but
we can certainly have an RFP for a headhunter for you by the end of July, by the July meeting. That's fine.
That'd be good.
And we can actually engage them for both positions if that's your desire. That would be my suggestion.
So we're good? We'll do the RFP?
yeah, I'm fine with it. And you had a potential guy that was maybe an operational manager, but again, that would be your call because that's yours to hire.
Yeah, that's Dan's.
Well, I haven't really gotten too excited about it because it's still 6 months until Mike leaves. You don't really want to pay 2 guys for 6 months.
I think well, on both candidates, the board should be involved in the unusual circumstances. That Dan is not, we know he's not going to be here. We certainly don't want to be pointing fingers at Dan, because he hired a mic replacement. I mean, it's just not fair, it's not fair to him. So I think we all have to be involved in this decision for both of us.
You're right, I don't have any issue with that. And we can have an RFP for you for the next meeting, yes, that's easy.
Something else I heard about.
Dan, I'm not sure if I recall correctly, Dan, but I think there's an RFP already posted from, was it Lady Lake in
Yes.
Orlando? So they've already done the work, they've already RFP'd it, they've already awarded it to a headhunter. I think the easiest solution at this point is use that same provider, whoever they went with, and get them started. I think we can bring that back.
Maybe you ought to call them, if you get any good candidates.
So we'll do that for July.
Okay, they were looking for a town manager, city manager, and the salary was actually, I think, $130,000 a year. So it's not a one-to-one. I'm not sure what the date on that was.
Yeah.
It may not. be.
Whoever the vendor
I think
is.
my point is, if they had success with that headhunter,
Right.
that's fine to piggyback.
Correct.
If they didn't have success with that.
Right. Just trying to say that's a different alternative versus having to wait for RP, wait for bids to come in, us assess different vendors on who we want to go with. Let's just go ahead and get this vendor that they've already done the
I mean, as
homework.
long as we're efficient, the faster the better.
Okay.
In my,
We can do that. If it's within the 12 months, we can certainly do that. I think I sent you guys a copy of that whole thing.
and then on a light note, my last thing, I have to do one of these all the time. The ceiling lights in this building would be nice, to still get them all.
Yeah, I keep,
I think that's what-
Supervisor Brooks,
Specifically turned off.
I turned them off so that you can see. I turn off these.
I don't think they're all. We can just check it.
I'm just saying, I turn off these.
It's a minor thing.
I don't want anyone getting in trouble for me turning off the light. That's all I'm saying.
They're all working. What to turn them off?
You're gonna be a little bit.
Turn them all on so you can prove it.
Let's do an example.
We don't need
I
to waste
will
any money.
apologize for that.
Well, hang on. Wow,
Right.
we're waiting,
I do.
we're waiting. Where's the apology?
Yes.
I'm gonna adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes.
Where's the apology?
He did apologize.
Did he?
Yeah, you
That's true.
I'm so happy. What'd you say?
Put your freaking hearing. How can you come to a meeting and not be hearing it?
Because
He told us about that. He told us about the umbrellas. He told us about the umbrellas.
We'll make that. We'll make that.
What? I didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing about the donors.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah.
Start with
Oh, I believe it.
you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But
Page 3, we're still where we came as of today.
I think I talked to you about it, they told us not to spend money on what they get, because we never knew if we were gonna get it the next year.
Right.
And you had to worry about how you're gonna pay your salary, how you're gonna pay this, I mean, you just can't do that.
The other part of that is when you do the water revenue, you're only impacting 3,800 residents. Or you're only impacting the 3,800 residents that have water, yet you have 12,000 lots who aren't being impacted, so you should have everyone pitch in to offset all the services, not just people using the water service. Once again, that's kind of the long range plan, is continue to attack assessments, get that to a rate where it's supposed to be. We keep making improvements on that to get, but we are in a good place as far as budget. Our recommendation through conversations is to, once again, utilize SRF funding for the water meter project. In our 5-year capital plan, we do have the $10 million payment for the wastewater treatment plant has already been scheduled inside our 5-year capital projection. The only one that hasn't been included is the drainage that we talked about today, that hasn't been forecasted yet. So
There's nothing in there yet.
no, for the drainage,
First payment of the first year in the sewer, right?
right, which in our 5 years is.
But all the other stuff,
So for the water meter project, you'd be taking out the $1 million and putting in $100,000. So it would actually benefit this budget to do that. You'd be offsetting it by $900,000 in positive.
it's probably just, but I'd like to see all the money that was planning on borrowing before I sign off on everything.
I think for the next,
You're obligating, we are gonna obligate a lot of people for a lot of money. I just wanna know upfront what we're doing.
I agree with you, it's, once again, this budget is difficult to present because you're always giving you worst case scenario. What I'd like to do on the next budget, because it'll be the first time we actually have all three at one time, is give you our best case scenario of what we actually think is gonna happen. So I want to put in there 50% for the playground. I want to take out 1.2 million and put in $150,000 for the payment. I want to show you what it's actually going to look like with our recommendations.
It's not approved, you're
So
just
you say, we have a pretty good estimate. We know that SRF funding is
They keep
available.
telling me they're borrowing money at 0% interest.
Right. Which everyone does at Spring Lakes is doing it for $10 million.
I don't think we're gonna be able to borrow money at 0% interest. You really think that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's one of the features that the state provides for governments. It's exclusive to governments. It's just one of the benefits once again, to being a government entity and having that availability. So those are the changes that are included here. Some of the changes that aren't included that we need to go through and discuss that I put on my memo is the first one being supervisor compensation. There was a discussion at the last meeting on attracting new candidates, why we're getting so low rate of attraction, whether increasing the pay will help facilitate that. So we provided a couple different options for you guys to kind of assess and discuss. The first one being changing the rate from 300 to 500, that would be a $12,000 a year impact. If you went from 300 to 1,000, that would be 42,000. And then there was also a conversation on possibly including some sort of golf membership to be more of an attractive feature. So if there's any input on whether we should continue to pursue this, any change that we made, we didn't have to go to the county for approval before we could implement it.
We have any comment on any of this?
But, I'm the one who brought this up. The reason I brought this up is because I'm concerned that nobody is interested in the board. And that when we have an opening, that nobody's interested in applying for a position. I mean, no offense to them, and don't think, Beverly wanted to be on the board, and that was fine. But there was no choice. And compensation may not be right. I don't really care. It's not about the money. It's about trying to figure out a way to get people interested in what we're doing and participate in what we're doing. That's all I was trying to accomplish. I may not have done it the right way. If I upset a lot of people because of the way I did it, I certainly apologize for that. But I'm telling you, we have a problem. Look out in the audience. Nobody cares. And I don't have the answers, but I was trying to have a conversation on what we think we need to do to get people interested in this again. I mean, Howitt told me a little while ago, when he was on the board, they used to have a full house.
It was a lot more entertaining back then too.
What's that?
I said it was entertaining back then too.
Yeah, all I'm saying.
No, it wasn't.
You know, we have to do something, that's all. Whether we pay the supervisors more money, I could care less.
Do we have the number of hits on Zoom of people that go in and listen to the audio?
I did keep a record of that as part of the minutes. This meeting, we had 3 people attending via Zoom.
3.
Yeah, one of them walked out, say it back, because he told me it's gonna be on.
One of us needs.
One of the others is Neil, because he just texted me and said the volume wasn't working.
And the third was Tom Crosby.
I can. Maybe I can address. There were actually 2 candidates for Beverly's seat, one of whom attended one meeting and said, I don't want to waste my time going through that.
Right, he was here, right. You talking about the gentleman who was here?
Correct. I had lunch with him, he wanted to talk about it, and his basic, he was much more polite than this, but he basically said, I got better things to do than sit around and waste half a day.
Do we know how many people access the website in order to review the minutes of the meetings?
Yes, sir. I tracked that on YouTube.
Number is?
In averages, in the summer, it tends to drop, so where it's anywhere between 20 to 30. But that's views, it could be multiple views, it doesn't tell me who's watching.
I mean, I was on it 3 times, I think the number is 27. So without me, it's 1,024.
Right.
And anytime you want to listen to the audio, it clicks as you're on. So if you want to go back and hear what was discussed at the meeting, that counts as a click. So that was my whole point pertaining to this thing. I don't care about 3,000 membership, although I did find what you all wrote here very interesting, because I know that the district gets, some people in the district office get free membership, so.
Yeah, I asked that question too, but they can get around it by how many times they play a week, so.
So I just hope we'll all be the same way. Whether you give it, I don't really care. I mean, personally, I don't care what I get free membership or not. I care less.
I'll just say that I don't think, and I think Ray and I would agree that we don't need 3 memberships for the board of supervisors.
That's fine. I don't care if you give us another nickel. My challenge is to figure out how to get more people. That's what it's all about. So,
If you want my opinion, having been on the board of supervisors, it would be beneficial if we had the board of supervisors discussions at a much higher level than they are. You're getting a lot of down in the dirt stuff that you don't necessarily need to know. Having run banks that were much larger than this, and having boards of directors, which is similar, all of the kind of operational things were handled before you ever went to board. The board spent their time looking at the direction that we were taking the bank, what we need to do in terms of bigger stuff, higher level.
I can tell, I mean, if we're going to speak openly for a couple of minutes, I can tell you why a lot of the people that I know, I can even give you the names if I have to, are not coming to the meetings anymore, is because they felt when they came and they got up and they spoke, they felt like they were ignored.
Have they been to a meeting lately?
I'm sorry?
Have they been to a meeting lately with this full?
Well, they stopped coming.
Well, then you can't.
No, have they been?
You can't-
No, that's the same
That's not
thing.
this
People
board.
get up here now and they.
Like who?
I'm not pointing the finger anywhere. I'm just giving you my opinion. That people have stopped coming here because they would get up and they would make a statement and one, it wasn't, not everybody was paying attention, and 2, people didn't have a response to the person. So they said, why am I bothering? I mean, believe me or not, I'm telling you, that's how some people feel. I used to come to the meetings where I was on the board.
It's true. Beverly. And I hate to admit or agree with Ray, but he's right. I mean, I probably get more complaints than anybody in this whole place because I'm everywhere around, okay? Just like speed bumps. When people bring up speed bumps, right? The first thing that, when they walk out the door, unless we, we push it, they feel that they're ignored. And Ray's right, and I don't really, agree with him much, but it's true. People do feel, that, I mean, even myself, that I don't listen to it. So, I mean, I don't know how you change that, but the one thing about volunteers, and this really is a volunteer board, okay? Okay, you've got 15 kids that play baseball, and Omar can tell you this, how many fathers will volunteer? 2 or 3, the coach, right, Omar? Right, it's the volunteer, right? I mean, when we have a board meeting in the preserve, the biggest meeting we ever had is when we serve lunch. I hate to say it, right? And the rest are like this. No, I'm not talking about donuts. Okay, but I mean, I see it in Little League baseball. I see it everywhere. People just don't volunteer anymore. And I don't think it's the board fault.
I probably shouldn't have brought this up because this is a budget conversation. I apologize. Maybe we let it hold this for some other time and just go on. Because we're not gonna solve it. But it is, I'm telling you, it's a concern. And I think the board, I'll leave my close with this. The board's gotta change the way.
It's an overall issue for not only the supervisors, but just in general. We would love, and we've tried different tactics to get more people to show up to meetings. We've done afternoon meetings, we've done late night. We've tried different avenues to get the community involved. We've done surveys. It's just it's a culture district-wide. And some people want participants. And
Maybe we gotta change the way we do it.
Maybe that, once again, I know you guys, we talked about the committees earlier, but if we get more people involved and their voices and their opinions are being incorporated in some fashion, they're gonna be more invested. They're gonna be wanting to know what's going on. What's the next step? I wanted this recommendation, that they proceed with it. You gotta get people involved in order for them to continue to show up. The way we've done in the past is only show up when you have a complaint or you want something.
Right, exactly, absolutely.
Haven't been provided. So
And that's the only time they.
it's typically the same, to be honest.
It's the same number.
It's the same,
Anyway, that was my point.
if
As
not
far as
less.
the compensation goes.
Yeah, the conversation is up to you
I
guys.
could care less. I mean, I'll vote, no compensation increases for the board. That would be my vote.
And just so you know, and this is the third that has come up about employees, if you want to take my membership away, it's fine, because I don't golf enough to use it, so. I know, but I mean, I don't really think it's,
Way he said you should not.
so.
Right. It's of very little value to people who are working.
Right, exactly. It's not good.
Do we get a discount for food in the restaurant?
I don't think they give it to the supervisors, they give it to the employees, but.
Only if they're on,
you
Only
have
if
to
they're on
really-
only if they're on district business, then anybody get a discount.
Right.
If I go have dinner, I do. If I go have dinner, I do not get a discount. If I take Scott Kerouac to lunch, I get a discount. So it's only if
They
they're
don't
on
get a
district
discount,
business.
right?
I guess you would if you had somebody on business.
But Dan, didn't the past, they did get a discount? And
Maybe, I don't know.
David, in the past,
It was supervisors for like employees, treated like employees, and at one time they got 50% discount.
right, I know it was something.
Then it went from
20.
25%. I was on the board almost 9 years, I never took a discount, I was offered, but no. Now, I don't know why, because the supervisors cannot be under the same situation as.
Right.
Employees.
Right.
I was told a long time ago, supervisors are not.
They're nothing but a punching bag.
What's that?
They're nothing but a punching bag.
That's true.
You know what, you'll have less friends after.
That's right.
I guarantee it. That's just the way it is.
But kind of,
Okay,
my opinion about the board from the time that, basically since the time I got on, is that we spend a lot of time talking about, as Dan was saying, things that we shouldn't be talking about. As a board, we should be at the higher level. The general manager's job is to, just for instance, the trees. In my opinion, if he says the trees need to be taken down, fine, take them down. And if it's gonna require a significant amount of money, then yes, we gotta go ahead and approve that, I understand that. But to just talk about whether or not we should remove trees is to me, if he gives approval to remove them, and we don't agree with that, then we should be finding a different general manager.
Exactly. If the people aren't doing what needs to be done, you need different people.
Yeah, but we get down into the next nice, speed bumps. I personally don't believe we should be involved in speed bumps.
Don't need.
The general manager does that. If we don't like what he does, we get rid of the general manager.
But that was, in all fairness to them or us, that was the board's decision.
I
Right,
understand that.
exactly. You wanted to be in,
I'm talking.
I had to agree with you.
Right.
But the board decided, unfortunately.
to be involved in that, and it's true. And it's, you know what, and it's also hard to work like that. I'll be honest with you, right? This guy that this morning gave me health about, he wanted a speed bump, and I said, you gotta bring it to the board.
And
he didn't.
Why don't we do this going forward, all this little stuff that comes up time to time?
I-
As it comes up, why don't we say, let's not bother us anymore with this, and so you know.
We can do that, and actually, Elmore and I have already been talking about, we need to make some changes to policy. So we can make some recommendations to you that the next meeting, that, for example, does it make sense to have to go for an RFP every time you do something over 25,000? We ought to look more like, say, Sebring, we were talking about yesterday, they're 50,000.
Right.
You still have to get bids, but, do you really want to, how far do you want to sit here and it takes, 60 days at least to get an RFP?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking me to go out and get an RFP for a headhunter, that's probably gonna be 25,000 or maybe 26,000. That means I gotta send out an RFP or find a piggyback contract. We wind up spinning our wheels a lot of times on stuff that's not immaterial, but it's not really that significant in terms of the budget. We'll bring you some stuff back.
I mean, but that still doesn't solve the problem with attracting people to the board.
No, it's not.
It's a good, it's a good step.
It might make the board meetings take an
I
hour
think we
instead
have, I
of
would like
5.
for you to evaluate how we do meetings.
I can do that.
Because again, I know one guy, thinking of specifically, who came to the meeting, unfortunately was playing golf at 1 o'clock, 12:30, whatever it was. He had one thing to say and he wasn't allowed to ask about it because it didn't come up yet. So he left and he went to play golf and he never asked. He said, screw it, I'm not coming back.
I will admit freely that I never sat through a board meeting all the way until I got put on the board. I made it about an hour. My attention span isn't that long. If it lasts, any meeting that lasts over an hour lasted too long, in my opinion. We spend a lot of time. Yeah.
I just think we need to decide, if there's gonna be any compensation. Give them an answer on that. Yeah,
No change, I vote no change in compensation.
I agree.
Next item for discussion is special events in the fitness center. So there was 2 memos provided by Ariel on each one of these. The first one being special events. The current budget for special events is $31,500. That you can find on page, what page? Page 11 is the memo. The assessments are now at 4% increase. You want to talk about that?
have a conversation or?
You can have a conversation if you think it needs to be more or less, if you agree with it, then there's no conversation, but.
It's in there because you guys put it in there last meeting.
I do, if we want to do this, I don't have any problem with that increase, but I know Dan talked to Neil yesterday, but when he said something about 4% merit increase, he thought, unless you got something from him, he was concerned that 3% wouldn't cover the higher wages and the automatic minimum wage.
Correct.
Am I reading this right? You wanna make the merit raises 4%?
That's what that was.
I mean, that's not what I think he was talking about. He's thinking that we were putting enough money in because of that now. I mean, so I just got the impression that you're raising merit raises from 3 to 4.
Right, so Neil's concern was, let's say you have a $12 an hour employee who's getting 3%, then you get $12.30. Well, you can increase it, minimum wage goes to $13, you gotta increase them, but you have someone at $13, you can't leave that employee at 30, you have to, everyone across the board has to, be affected, you can't just pick and choose.
I think that's correct, but it isn't necessarily gonna.
So you're gonna, if we raise this 4%, you're gonna, everybody gets 1%.
No. No.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking.
It's 1%
Yeah.
but they draw.
Right, I understand.
But not everybody across the board necessarily.
Right, but the ones that get it will get 4% instead of 3%.
No,
Somebody might get 0 and somebody might get 6.
Right.
It just depends on where they
Like
are.
where they decided who gets
That's just a
Yeah.
number to come up with. That's, you could, I don't know how much money that is, but you could just see,
So
at
the
10,000
higher.
Yeah, it was 30, the first pass
Yes.
at 3%.
Because of the minimum rate.
Because-
It's not going up.
just because though, we might be forced to have to give them more, not
I mean,
give a 4% raise.
Correct, that's exactly what Neil meant. He and I had that conversation yesterday.
what number did he suggest?
He was just saying he didn't think 3% was in aggregate was enough money to cover what was gonna happen with compression from minimum wage increase. I mean, ultimately.
5%, it's 5%, 6%.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter because you're not committing to spend all of that. You're saying, if I need to, it's there.
That's correct.
That's right, that's what
I think they're getting confused by, and we're calling it merit increase, and should just be increase.
okay, you answered my question, so,
Well, whatever number we decide on should be enough to cover what we think.
right,
That's correct. And again, we're.
Correct.
And, the HR consultant, they come back and say, you really need to put 5%. These guys need to get 10, these guys need to get 9.
Okay, so
We're just coming up with numbers now, we'll figure it out. Again, we got a lot of balls in the air that'll start landing shortly, I hope.
okay, very good, thank you.
I did have a question on the assessments. Go back to
Yes.
them. Does it really work? I mean, I'm good with the 4%, but are we kidding ourselves about, improved lots and well, we don't really do a very good job of collecting it, brace those? I mean, that's just a paper.
So as a part of Omar's budgeting process, he applies a percentage to that.
Right.
So we're not really saying your collection number is not exactly the same as your building number.
Right. So if you change, let's say we don't do an increase on vacant, it's gonna be similar to golf membership. Right now, everything is based off of single family dwelling and there's a baseline percentage off of that, which we did with GAI consultants. So I think we did it to 10% or 20% of whatever it is. If you leave it at 140, then that percentage is gonna be fluctuating, it might be 18%.
I would just say break something that you're not gonna get.
Well, if you recall, the GAI consultant recommended for vacant lots, it's 140 now, they recommended $70. The board decided to make it 140, right, which didn't have an impact. People still didn't pay because it was still too high. So I just want to, fine.
It's kind of a. We're saying we're gonna bill at 140, and we do, but we don't necessarily collect the 50% of it. Because a lot of people just aren't paying, so it didn't make any difference whether you charge them 550. And, but it's not worth us foreclosing. So we got a lot of stuff that hasn't been paid in years.
Those numbers are starting to fluctuate and come back as well with all the bond settlements and all the bonds kind of get wiped off, all the county sales.
Right.
Those percentages will start to increase because of those properties now being back into it and paying. The next item was the special events. So Ariel proposed to change the budget at the board's recommendation to from 31,500 up to 40,000 total budgets for special events. Pretty much the biggest impact of that would be the New Year's Eve fireworks. That's $10,000. If we didn't do that, then the budget's sufficient. If we like that program or we want to replace it with something else, then we would recommend the $40,000. So we kind of just need some board consensus. Do we just do 31.5 and fit as much as we can into that budget? Or do we increase it to a flat 40 and then do the same concept?
Okay, I'll just speak that. I was on the board and we did away with the New Year's Eve, but we got a lot of complaints. And, you know, there's more people didn't want it than wanted it. And I was one that wanted the New Year's and do away with the 4th of July. But it just, with the dogs, the pets, and $10,000 is what it's gonna cost. I mean, my recommendation would be to do away with that, but again, it's up to the board.
Sure, so just to add on that, the reason that we included that back in is at least the years that I have been here, every year it's kind of a running thing in the office that you know that the closer you get to New Year's, we are inundated with calls of, is Sun and Lake doing fireworks for New Year's, is Sun and Lake doing fireworks for New Year's?
And it's from people outside of Sun and Lake.
That I can't confirm or deny, but we get tons of phone calls, you know, especially when people call in and they pay their water bill or they have a question and then, oh yeah, by the way, are you guys doing fireworks for New Year's? So we put it in there just based on kind of the buzz that it seems like is created every year, folks asking if that's something we're gonna do.
The second piece of that is, you know, you have the snowbirds here January the 1st, a lot of them, and you have none of them here July 4th, so it's more of a Sun Lake audience. I don't care when.
I mean, I'm good with it. I don't know. I'm not in favor. I'm not in favor.
I think the 4th of July one is proper. As far as we see goes, I just don't, I know there'll be fireworks going on all over town, so I just can see this happening. First.
I see 3 people shaking their heads.
I mean, you tie to the affair at the court. That's part of the deal.
We haven't had it for 3 years, 4, 5.
Right, and as I said, this is simply a list of proposals, some ideas we came up with. If the consensus of the board is that we don't want to do the New Year's fireworks, that's obviously perfectly fine. It's like Omar said, we take out the $10,000 and now all of a sudden problem solved and we're right where we need to be budget wise, so.
And I'm assuming this recommendation came from you
Yes.
to do this 4th of July thing?
To do the New Year's, yes, I put together this proposal of potential events. Between Kelly and I did some
So you
brainstorming.
guys don't want the fireworks? I guess 3 of them don't want it, but it settles that. How about the spring cleaning event for 2,500? I don't want that. That's a waste.
Well, and at this point, now that the budget is down, I mean, basically, we've knocked it down to 30,000, so by taking out the proposed event, so the proposed events was initially 40, taking out the 10. We're there.
How about the spring cleaning event for 2,500? I don't think we're gonna do that either. We can take the budget down to 27.5.
Yeah. I agree with Ray on that.
The idea there,
I think that's one that's good for the neighborhood. I think that's good for the business.
Think people will love this stuff and they can put out.
So they, If you don't have something like
Well,
this,
let's shut it back.
then you have to wait for county to come, which they do, it does provide a place for people to do all of these things that they're not supposed to do in the garbage.
Can I say something on that one? In the past, we used to do it and it worked well. We used to bring a dumpster. People put TVs, their computers, bulk stuff. We also, that same day, we would do a cleanup. And I don't know if Ariel knows about this, and because I didn't even talk about this because I've been crazy busy, but we get volunteers in certain areas that people want cleaned up. We would give them golf carts, go around and pick up trash too. So maybe this is actually pretty good, honest. I mean, I like to see it. It's been 4 or 5 years ago. Well, but we haven't done it right. And you got people complaining that, certain areas are a mess.
So going back to the conversation before this, high level, all we're asking is, let's set the budget at 31.5. We really get in the weeds of whether or not we're doing a $2,500 event right now. As long as it fits within 31.5, what does it matter? That's something that we can change. It can be changed next year.
If it's something that we criticize on, I would like.
Yes, absolutely. We can take your input. Absolutely. For sure.
I mean, if like.
But that's an off board meeting conversation. Hey, this event, I've been told is terrible. She's getting feedback. We're gonna make that change proactively as management. At a board meeting, it's kind of, once again, we're going down this trend of, do we leave it at 31.5 or do we make it 40 is the question. How much money do you want to spend on events?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I mean, creative budget, $500 to decorate homes for Halloween.
Once again, we want to get community involvement, we want to get people to participate.
I want everybody who decorates their home with fall day.
The board sets the entire budget. You're gonna see how much office supplies, how many bins we buy.
You doing Christmas?
So I think right now, based on feedback, I think the 31.5 will proceed with what we have in the budget now. And
that's based on whose decision? That's yours?
the board put this in first pass. 31.5 is what it is now.
Oh, you decided first that?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
Me either.
So next is the fitness center recommendation. So there was a conversation at the last meeting to bring back a recommendation on as to what we should do with the fitness center going forward. I know Ariel and Dan have some meetings scheduled with you guys with Advent Health. I know that's a big part of this. The recommendation from Ariel management is to kind of do a phase out approach, depending on when Advent Health is going to put up their facility. If we did this, we would obviously, the recommendation is to stop taking memberships October 1, continue to let all the memberships play out. So let's say someone bought a membership today. They would be able to use it until next July, get a full 12 months worth of membership, but then they wouldn't be able to renew next October going forward. It's kind of the thought process. Obviously, there's some heartburn as to getting rid of it too soon and not getting rid of it with another alternative. So this is once again a conversation for the board to decide how soon you want to tackle the fitness center and how we go about it.
That's not hard to answer until we know.
Yeah, Ariel, we had a meeting yesterday with Advent Health there, and we want to kind of bring them to.
Sure, so.
Does this decision have anything, we're still gonna, in my mind, we're still gonna close that whether we spend one dime with Advent Health. What are we trying to, what we do with them doesn't make any difference, does it?
Well, I think the thought process there was, if we're being honest, right now, our facility is extremely small, not a lot to offer.
Right.
The only thing that we're offering with that fitness facility is proximity. That's literally the only convenience that it serves. So I think the thought process is trying to do it a little bit kind of in tandem, if you will, with Advent Health. Is when that facility is done, you have another alternative that proximity wise is still very close and located with the district. So really, that's more or less.
So if somebody wants to join, they can do that, but what would that have to do with us making a donation or being part of it? So.
Well, I mean, obviously from the district side, my understanding would be that if we are going to make any kind of donation or a partnership with Advent Health, then the expectation on our end would be that residents receive a discounted rate. I know that was something that had been discussed previously, is that they had agreed at one point to do a discounted rate that was equal to what their employees would have paid. So for us, it would hopefully change the rate that residents are paying to use that facility. Now, granted, Silver Sneakers and programs that are the equivalent of Silver Sneakers through folks' insurance are all offered by the hospital, so that's no cost here, it's no cost there. It's pretty obvious which one people would choose to use, but so the Silver Sneakers element of that, yes, there's no change. Otherwise, the hope would be that we would secure a discounted rate for residents.
Okay.
The second question is timing thereof. That was the meeting we had with them yesterday, is when are you gonna start, when are you gonna finish? And the answer was,
They have to get to 80% funding secured before they can basically break ground. I want to say they were thinking that would be somewhere to the tune of 2 years. Is that correct?
she said, break ground.
Before they break ground. Now, the thing with sponsorship is they have somebody come in tomorrow that says they want to pledge $1 million, that changes. It's kind
That's
of.
why we're sitting in there quick, right?
This is at least a year or two
Right.
early. A year or two early.
And the people I know that work
I
out,
mean, here's what I suggested, you guys can tell me. I mean, it's $5,000 worth of revenue. I mean, to say, I'm gonna not take new memberships next year, but you can play out your old membership, that's gonna upset some people. What I suggested we did was, just don't charge people. If there's a capacity problem or capacity concern, post the number of people you're allowed to have in there at one time, but the recreation department control it, and let's keep it open until we know what's going on. Make it simple.
I don't have a problem with that, or I don't have a problem leaving that bit. I'm just saying, I believe it's too early. It's at least a year too early. We just get that. I'm surprised the number of people that still hang.
We have.
I think there's actually more than
I don't think we have.
Until they have an alternative available to them besides going downtown. I think we just.
It's $5,000. I would eliminate it. Just
It's fine.
we're giving them all the tennis courts and the rec club and the shuffleboard. Let's be nice and give them this. Whomever. This is
The only issue
$5,000.
there is capacity. The only issue there is capacity. I have no issue with giving ones doing away with the $5,000 in revenue.
And maximum people at one time.
So
Whatever.
yeah.
Here's the reason we want to do away with the thing to begin with. There is nobody there. And if somebody has, I shouldn't say this, never mind, I'll pass.
Well, it's.
Fine, I mean, that's
You worried about somebody hurting themselves?
precisely.
That can happen now.
And if they fall off that machine in there and there's nobody else in there for 3 hours, it's gonna, I'm sorry. If they fall off the treadmill and break their neck and there's nobody in there for 3 or 4 hours, do we have an issue liability wise? You don't have a incentive.
There's always gonna be, we're talking on the golf course, closing down, half the practice range, was a worry that somebody's gonna get hurt. And for the last 15 years, there hasn't been a problem. I mean, we have to, I mean, the accidents are gonna happen. I think we understand.
Dan, how about the hours? What we open the hours right now over there?
That was my recommendation, you guys. decide on.
That's what, if that's
Well, why
your
don't we
decision, that's fine. I mean, the revenue is no deal.
The revenue's not.
The revenue is no.
I did say the instructors, we can eliminate that expense. I would be okay with eliminating that expense, since you said people use it for what it is.
The instructors aren't over there, the instructors are doing Zumba and yoga here.
I'm not all right.
I'm sorry?
I'm not all right with eliminating that. That's, I mean,
Oh, you want these breakfast, that's fine.
yeah,
That's more money than,
yeah, absolutely.
That's more money that we pay on that than what we do on this.
right, we pay the instructors. The people who take Zumba and yoga pay zero. Sun Lake pays the money. And that is $12,000, about $12,000 a year.
But we service more people.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
It's not a financial finance, is it?
No, I mean, it's a loser, however you look at it. And
But we service more people
No,
with
you don't.
Zumba. A lot of people come in.
no, you don't. I mean, there's more people that do the fitness center, but here's the thing. We're spending how much? $40,000 a year basically in the fitness center. I mean, just for your edification, if we say we pay $25,000 a year to the hospital and got the members, the residents of Sun Lake a discount, you would actually be saving $20,000. And if you throw the Zumba and the yoga in, you could give them $50,000 a year. Save money. So the question is, what are we willing to do? I don't disagree with Greg. When we put all this together, we weren't sure when the hospital was gonna break ground, and they're still not sure. And our thought was, okay, we'll do this for a year, and then if they aren't going strong by next year, then we don't have to shut it down, we can keep going.
Don't you think there's a reason the hospital's coming back to us saying they need now 80% funding to even start?
That's been the entire time, that's been the stipulation for the
Yeah, the
foundation.
entire time, means they haven't gotten zilch.
Yeah, they said, told us yesterday, had $1 million pledged,
How much have they got?
$1 million
$1 million?
of 5, so they've got 20%.
Yes, and this all started pre-COVID, like they said, once COVID struck, obviously the focus,
Since you guys have had the meeting, what are they gonna ask us?
they haven't given us that yet, they haven't put together a sponsorship proposal, we didn't see that, the only thing we asked of them was, hey, can you give us an idea of, we didn't even know what the meetings were gonna entail when you guys were there. Last thing we need is for us to have no idea either, then we can't help answer any questions, we have nothing to be prepared, we just show up and listen to, so we said, all right, what's your thought process, timing wise was our biggest thing, because as Dan said, we just met with them yesterday, we had to start making proposals for the fitness center before that meeting came along, they didn't have their meeting with the committee until the 16th, hence why meetings with you guys are pushed back so far, so this conversation for our fitness center started before we were able to get the information we needed from them.
Correct.
So the information we needed from them that we got has changed things substantially because as Supervisor Herrick mentioned, it's a few years out now. It's a little bit further out than I think we anticipated.
It's pretty simple for us to say, we'll keep doing what we're doing, which I think is what you're saying. We can do that.
I'd make it free. Be nice to people. It's $5,000.
My apologies, but I have to catch a flight.
What did you say, Greg?
I said, I apologize, I have to catch a flight.
Oh, okay.
So if that's the board's pleasure, that's exactly what we'll do. That's up to you guys. Or we'll make it free, whatever you tell us. I mean, it's. The money's no issue.
I don't use the roads.
Yeah, the access is the problem. You can't put more than 5 or 6 people in there adequately at any point in time. You already have.
No.
You have 200 signed up now, 112 of whom are golf members. Do the golf members actually use it? Probably not.
There's 100, in part of the memo that was on here, there are some numbers listed on there. It's-
Only $5,300 in revenue.
So the
Golf
first,
members get it for free.
Golf members, you have to count each one of them. as-
Golf members get
The golf members get every recreational facility for free.
We have 43 people who are paying $125 a year to have access.
See, thank God, there's only 300 and some members.
Well, you
Golf members, I meant.
You may get it, but you have to go sign up.
Have to
for
go
it.
sign up.
I don't think golf members get anything from a amenity standpoint, but that's probably a conversation.
Well,
I don't know why they
Probably.
give every stuff.
That was done multiple years ago. I don't know.
Full membership, right?
Full membership?
Membership.
They get everything. But there are
But they
43
don't
people
use
who pay $125 if you. We'll do whatever you tell us to do. It's not much money. But if you had 20 people that wanted to get into that room, we'd have a big problem at the same time.
Yes. that's-
Regardless of what was that, most number, the maximum number.
That's a good thought as well. Did you hear that, Eric?
Yes, and the posted capacity in that building is 9, and I can promise you that there will not be 9 people working out in that one facility at one time. There's no way you can fit them.
I know, but I want to post.
Okay.
I think it is.
It is.
posted.
It is.
It
It is
is
posted. It is.
I don't care, but it's just my decision with and health, it's not gonna have anything to do with what we do here. That's all I'm saying, it's just,
Ultimately, it will.
because I would like to close it, because it's just not being used. And it's expensive.
It is being used.
Well,
I mean, there's anything from 10 to 9 a day, and in season 12, 15
It averages about 10 regardless.
yeah,
in season.
Can be less.
and I guess, do you think that's a lot? Okay.
I mean, it's 40 people.
At a time.
You don't get 9 during.
How many Zumba play people do we have?
It was in here.
It's in
Yeah,
here.
I know that.
It's in- oh,
I don't have that number on me. I want to say it's probably somewhere to the tune of 15.
15.
I would say
Okay.
somewhere in the 15 neighborhood per class, and it's offered twice a week.
Yeah, okay.
And during the season, it's probably more than. I see.
And it's probably the same 15, right, all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And during the season, it's more than that.
Yeah.
I've been to swimming classes where we had 30, 35, where we used the whole.
But ultimately, that would be, our thought is this whole thing will be replaced when Advent Health does their thing. Why would you come to this little thing when you got that whole thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's just,
But the only issue for me is not whether or not we close all this stuff, it's when we close all this stuff. And I agree with Craig that it's probably inappropriate to close it until we have an alternative. But we didn't know until yesterday.
We're gonna keep it open and charge them or not? No,
That's up to you
That's up
guys.
to you guys.
Huh?
That's up to you guys. You tell us what you want us to do.
I just
Why not?
paid $25.
Want to keep charging?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
All right, business as usual.
we don't, I just a clarification that the girls, they don't pay anything.
Well, anyone who participates right now in the classes has to have a membership. Now, a fitness membership. If you're a golf member, you have a fitness membership, but you don't pay anything for it. So
Okay,
you-
yeah, I got it. Boy, oh boy,
So if you don't have a fitness membership, you have to buy one, which is eliminated.
Yes.
That'd be the hardest part. That's the hardest part, right?
that's what
Correct,
I
the
like.
120,
25, you use that for.
and you get the classes that are offered in here. Yes.
If you're not a golf member.
If somebody walks in off this, well, a resident comes in and wants to join the fitness center, they pay $125, they get their card that lets them access that. The classes are basically an extension of the fitness center, and it's an offering.
So now between the Zumba classes and the fitness center, we only have 43 members.
Correct.
23 paid. Right.
It's
You have to think of it like customer service. It's a customer service.
We have a lot of that.
That's what it is.
Yeah, but you have to understand, I've already had to explain to the Zumba instructor, or maybe it was a yoga instructor, I don't remember which one.
All of the above.
This is not a yoga studio, this is a community center, and they don't like us using it for board meetings, because then they have to set up chairs. I mean,
Why does that not surprise me? we should build a building.
Either that or we partner up with that help and get out of the business. That's that's the long-term plan. But in the short term, I don't care.
The last thing that we have not discussed, that we probably don't want to discuss, but should be brought up anyway, are we gonna do anything with the water?
What?
Water rates? Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
hoping by
we
the-
talked about it last.
I'm
Doesn't
hoping-
mean we have to do it.
I think, once again, I think my opinion is, we still haven't gotten rural water's recommendation. We should have it by July's meeting. So we can bring back what their recommendation is at that point, and you guys can decide. But right now, that's what we've been waiting on, is their analytics on what's going on in the other communities and what their recommendation is.
We're not gonna get that till August, right? Because the guy said it'd be back sometime in July, but we don't know when. That's
Correct. Hopefully we'll have about it in July meeting.
When is the last opportunity to change the budget that we have?
Beginning of September.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that.
We can brag.
Yeah. So the last item that we haven't talked about is, whether or not the board wants to increase the budget by $10,000 for the district tree replacement plan. So if we can get a consensus on that.
I want to see the what.
We'll be waiting a while. Is that okay with you, everybody, Mike?
Yes.
Just hold off, we'll hold off on that, implementing that until we see the plan, and we'll bring it back.
Well, I can tell you, I'll probably vote for it, but if whether it makes a difference whether I see it or not, I don't know. We can delay it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and.
We're talking about taking down any dead trees and ones that are dangerous, things that we've been doing in the past 60 days without a plan.
I'm sorry, my only concern with putting things off is, God forbid, we need a storm coming through, we need those ditches out here, because they are potential. I'm telling you, I mean, they can just break off and do serious damage to houses and people.
We're coming, our storms are coming to September first.
Not-
Yeah, September.
Yes, but we can eliminate potential danger to other people, but the neighborhoods and or houses, if we go ahead and remove the trees.
Most of the ones we've taken down that were dead are pretty much gone, with the exception of the ones along Center Lake.
In all honesty, going forward, what way to do with that $10,000 budget, not even tell us about it. We're gonna have a damn conversation, we get non-conversation.
That works for me, I can tell you.
I would like to see.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, put it in the budget, change it, wasn't by 10 and call it a day.
Okay.
So we don't have to tell anybody we're taking the tree down anymore.
No.
Good, okay.
Unless you're gonna name it.
We can name
Yes,
them.
right.
Honestly, the only ones left, I think, that are dangerous now that I know of are along Center Lake Boulevard. And the issue there is not so much danger to pedestrians, the issue is to what happens if we get a storm and they start rolling down the power lines.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you don't have power anymore.
The only concern I have with trees is it's gotta be planned out, so that the stumps go, I mean, the whole thing's gotta be planned.
Yes, right.
So that we don't see stumps.
Well, we-
It's not a tree to worry about, it's the stump.
Hmm.
You
Well,
want
Well,
the
the whole
little
the
thing.
first word's
You
about
want
the tree, but he's gotta clean it up.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, no, the tree's got, if they gotta go, they gotta go.
I think we've taken down all the dead ones that I know. I don't know. if you-
We've taken quite a few down, but I mean, there are some out there, absolutely. But now that we can do it, we'll do it.
Forget about the tree plants.
We got to consider them.
So that's everything I have for this.
Okay, Dave, is there anything you want to say?
Hey, Robert, President. This is for Omar to start with. You know, the thing that really surprised me about this second cut on this budget is the fact that normally there's so much fat in an initial budget that the next time you come back, it's less.
It's about
It didn't happen
15%.
here.
No, it didn't.
I can't believe it. I've I've been through a lot of budgets here. I went through money back when I was working, and I've never seen that happen ever in my life, but it happened. Now, I'm gonna ask, and a lot of it's driven by revenue. 4% assessment increase was driven by this $3,232,000 that you had initially in the revenue. Okay, so you had a 4% increase, it brought it up to $3,430,000, which drove all this. Okay. Your estimated actual this year is $3,550,000. That's $150,000 more than what. Did you take into account, plug in all these new units, all the new commercial stuff and all that you look at?
I did. The reason,
because these low numbers drive a hell of a lot of stuff that's probably not necessary. And the same thing might happen with this golf. I don't want to pay 10.5% more. I don't think anybody else wants to pay 5% more.
No.
And what you gotta do, you gotta go into this budget and find a fact. We used to sit there, and go line item by line item, and if you see a big variance somewhere, you highlight it and you try to find out where they hide the fact. Because every manager, every person loves to have a budget that they can maintain. It's just easier on their life. And I happen to have an old, back in 2017-18, your revenue, assessment revenue was $3,540,000. Where the hell did it go? How come it's so much lower now than it was then?
so in 17 is when we did the GAI consulting recommendation, and we reduced the vacant land, which affected it by 200,000. So for 18 and 19, we're at 3.2 million. This last year, we got back up to 3.5 because of the phase 5 bond settlements. So we've had, I want to say it's about 180 lots that used to have a bond balance of $50,000 that they've now settled and paid the district 5 years worth of assessments and back assessments that have been sitting there. So that big influx came in at one shot, but it's going away. It's not going to be a recurring item for the district going forward.
You guys got to grunt this thing out, get some money out of here. You just got to do it.
Yeah, to your point,
I mean, people don't want to have it every year, an assessment increase. I mean, there was 3 years of assessment increases beyond this $3,500,000 you had back in 2017-18. Where the hell did it go? It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I mean, you got to run it out. You got to find it. There's fat in this thing, I guarantee you. But you gotta find it. It's the main job of the board is to manage the revenue that the district generates. That's the main job. And I don't see it happening other than just general stuff. Well, we're not going to want 1.5% increase, we want 4%. I mean, it's all of a sudden, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, and by the way, I think the board should, I'm in another subject, I think the board should be compensated more than $3,600 a year. I really want to do it. Honestly, God, it's been too long. I think they need a little bit. I mean, they don't want to pay for the printer revenues. We can really get into this thing and take a lot of time. I don't mind going to $500 a month. I don't think anybody else would, as long as it stays there for a while. I don't think it's golf membership, and I think you all already decided that we shouldn't go with it. But I think you gotta be realistic. But this doesn't make any sense to continue every year to raise assessments and every year to raise state. People finally going to get tired of it. Give you a little bit of history. Nobody wants to pay attention, but I got the numbers and the numbers go by. Between 2008 and 2015, we started with an 8.7 revenue reserve, all revenue reserve.
build a new clubhouse, build a new pool complex, new tennis and pickleball courts, new greens on Turtle Run, new greens on Deer Runs, a new signature hole on 18. We put the park path program on Turtle Run, the park path program on Deer Run. And we had no assessment increases during that period of time, and had one golf membership increase over that period of time. And at the end of that, we ended up with 9.4 million in our reserves. You can do that by getting in there and running up and back. You just can't, you can't continue to say, well, we're gonna raise assessments again this year and maybe for the next 4 or 5 years, and we're gonna raise golf rates again. It don't work. People get tired of it. 10.5% increase in golf rates in my category. That's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.
How much do we have to say? You what? How much is it? What are you talking? Talking about
Well,
what?
that's 5,000 times 2.5%. 50. I mean, I don't think we're talking about big numbers.
No, he's talking about 80 and above. It's how much of a discount they get off that.
Yeah, but we kicked that down. For 3 years, we didn't raise it like we did everybody else.
Raise assessments once.
The assessments haven't been raised since 2018. We kept them stagnant for 8 years. The GAI consultant, and we haven't touched it again for 2 years.
I mean, after we have one up there.
And to the same point, we did the lanai renovation, kitchen renovation, we did the district maintenance building, and we're still at $9 million. So we're still doing exactly what we was doing before. We're just trying to be proactive now because we have the irrigation that's been foregone. We're doing the water meter system that was a mess up in the past. So we got $3 million worth of projects that we're trying to catch up for and a new sewer plant. So wage increase, every year get wage increase. Right. Maybe we ought to get, maybe probably maybe we ought to get bonuses. Yeah. We pay something. It's compounding, you know. 3%, and then next year. Right. Which the board in the past would go down line by line and try to find, instead of just saying, hey, we want you to figure out this budget with no district assessment increase, and we would do that for you. So we can get to the same point without having to go through the telephone bill, and as long as you start with a good number to start with, it's absolutely, you don't want a low ball number, and then let that drive an assessment increase. You just don't want to do it. Same thing with the golf operation. Right. And it's gotta be a realistic number to start with.
Well, I think we're also trying to catch up on years of deferred maintenance. There's $10 million worth of drainage out in the back that hadn't been touched in 25 years, so that's part of the problem.
I believe it's better than anything. A lot of, just like I said a while ago, this interlocal agreement, Roswell Fifth, we came to the board and said, hey, it's illegal for us to do our own roads. So we need an interlocal agreement so that the county is not responsible for the roads, that we're responsible for the roads, and drainage is a part of that. That's on us. And there's a clause in there that says you can cancel that contract at any time. And if you do, it's on the county. It's not on us. The county's got a $10 million problem. Not Sun and Lake. Our assessments, not Sun and Lake. You wouldn't be able to charge $700 in assessments either, which would affect our revenues and our operations. What's that? If we got rid of the roads, you couldn't continue to charge everyone for a $700 assessment either. I know it, but then, so you would basically, you're getting rid of the district in a big weeping swoop. I don't know, maybe.
I think, I mean, we can do better with the budget. I mean, if we don't, then we could probably come up with a budget.
A certain amount. I don't disagree with that. I think there's still bad in it. I don't think you can whittle on it a little bit. So.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make one comment before we quit. You mentioned the RFP process. I understand it slows us down. meeting, we authorized 40,000 or 50. But, you're my friend. But no general manager should be able to spend 15,000 without three of us agreeing with it.
No, so.
And that's what we gotta make, and if they do, they're fired.
That wasn't the issue at all. The issue was whether or not we get three bids and bring them to you, or whether we have to go through this RFP. As it sits now, anything between 5,000, 10,000 and 25, we can get three bids. We'll talk to you about it, go. But what happens is it's 26,000, then we gotta go out for an RFP. That's all.
Yeah, and Dan, I agree, but you know as much as anybody else, but when we have employees that are spending money, we're the ones that get questioned about it. And I know in the past, general managers have spent $20,000 and not even told the board. That's what I want to stop. I mean, I don't care if you spend 20 grand, I want you to talk to the majority of the board before that decision is made.
I don't know even.
At $20,000, we can get three quotes and you can.
Right, but we gotta get three quotes and do it, but that's only if it's budget. Right.
Well, no, I just meant whatever number they put on it.
It needs to be budgeted, that's really.
I mean, right now, communication that we're getting from the district now is the best we've ever got.
Oh, yeah.
So.
But Dan's not gonna be here that long, right? He's not gonna be.
Well, I expect him to train the next guy.
Yeah.
The same thing. That's his responsibility. That's what his responsibility.
I don't want a general manager spending 40 grand without you or me knowing about it.
That's what we're trying to address is the tolerance.
I don't think we change the rules. I just think we continue to do it. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing now.
We're trying to make it more efficient is our question. Right now, everything over 25,000 comes to the rule. We're not changing that.
Right.
We're trying to change in the manner of how that happens. So over 25,000 to 50,000, we want to bring you three quotes, because we can do that a lot faster than going to an RFP. If it's over 50,000, still coming to you, but it's coming through an RFP.
You don't want to do an RFP, you just want to get.
When it makes sense,
I don't know, what's the legal end of it? You have to ask.
Oh,
we can set that
Oh, we have to change the policy.
Correct.
Yeah, and I just want that. I'm okay with trying to save time, but so much stuff has been done without.
But to say, but your issue that general manager can't issue 20,000, they can do that today. They can do that right now. Jan can do that now. So.
Right.
If it's in the budget.
Right.
Just put their RFPs in early.
And I know even our employee, don't we have like Mike can spend, what, up to 5,000 without doing it, I mean.
No,
That's.
1,000.
1,000.
I'm 1,000.
1,000.
I have to go to Dan for up to
But
5,000.
that's all and just, I would like to streamline this a lot better.
Absolutely.
But we're the ones that are gonna be accountable for it, and we need to know.
Right.
And the three of us say yes, do it.
We can't come to you guys for.
We don't want to do that, you've ever known. In fact, I hate getting up in the morning, I broke this, I look for those emails.
Yeah.
And see what else is going on. So the communication is great, right? I think we're running that is fine.
Yes.
No, I think we need to do what Dan is suggesting, is because we have so much on our plate now. And that we don't need to wait for 30 days for the.
Right.
To come in, let's just give them the authority to change the policy. And
Go more money.
As long as it's budgeted.
As long as it's.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm talking about, and all you gotta do is call us into the office one by one.
Right.
I mean, you'll find out real quick if we agree with you.
We'll figure it out. We'll get it done in writing for you. I'll tell you. And then you can either approve it or disapprove.
You can't be afraid to be open to the public.
No.
What to our people who live here.
True.
No, but that, also the problem has been too, with RFPs always haven't been the best solution either. We've got RFPs back with one bid.
Right.
So we spent 3 months of time and paperwork to get one bid and it defeats the purpose. When we get, gone out and got three quotes, you would have been a lot better off making an informed decision.
I agree.
So we need to do what's.
I don't understand the RFP, you can get around it. And
We're asking you to.
three bids, I don't think we care as long as we see the three bids.
Right.
We need to take, you gotta clear it with David, then, I mean, we have all these rules and regulations.
Well, it's our policy. That's what's standing in the way. It's our policy, not the rules, not the
I
regulations.
don't think we have a problem changing the policy.
They gotta up the price. That's it.
We'll bring it back to you. So I mean, that's not a
Everything
deal.
costs more today.
Not a deal. We can do that easily.
Just put that on your plate of things that you get.
Yeah,
I'll send you an email.
yeah, what's he doing?
Craig's missing.
The plane ran out of gas.
That's what?
We're adjourned.
Cowboy donuts for you.
There'll be 2 days. There'll be 2 days.
He missed his.